Chapter 735, Beauty Saving the Hero 3, 13/20. I don't have any land, I don't need a mule, I don't need a horse, I just need a servant. Hearing what Feng Lingtian said, Xiao Yu's lips curled up. Alright, if I can get out today, I, the crown prince, will be your servant. Feng Lingtian gritted his teeth and scanned his surroundings vigilantly. Hee, I will definitely take you in as a servant. The bone whip in Xiao Yu's hand began to grow longer and slowly split into more than 10 pieces. So it's still a pair of lovebirds. It's so good to have a companion on the road. Kill. The white-bearded elder saw Xiao Yu's confident expression and his eyes revealed a cold expression as he shouted. In an instant, a terrifying blade light and sword light formed and the aura of a golden mountain filled the surroundings. Feng Lingtian's expression changed drastically. Poo. However, at the instant his opponent attacked, piercing sounds could be heard. Not good, there are people around. A middle-aged man saw a white figure suddenly appear behind the old man in front of him, and his terrifying claws directly pierced through his body. His expression changed drastically as he shouted loudly. Bang, 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 bang. The 4 strange demons directly pushed down the 4 corpses. Their bodies were suffused with white light as they retreated backward. The white light began to slowly dim. 10 seconds later, it disappeared again. The 4 white figures that suddenly appeared instantly attacked and killed 4 people. One of them was even a half-step immortal god. The people from the Chaos Origin Immortal sect were stunned. Their faces were filled with fear as they hurriedly stopped the attacks in their hands. Feng Lingtian was also stunned as he stared at the corpses on the ground in disbelief. Gulp, those 4 figures, that what? My brother sent them to protect me. Your father is an immortal god, why didn't he send some experts to protect you? Seriously. Xiao Yu glared at Feng Lingtian and said unhappily. What the fuck? The corner of Feng Lingtian's mouth couldn't help but twitch. His brother sent him here to protect her. With his strength reaching the infant realm, how could his father still send people to protect him? For an infant realm expert, you could only send people to protect an infant realm expert at most. Why couldn't you send a half-step immortal god to protect him? There were only 3 or 4 half-step immortal gods in the entire immortal sect. Was this possible? Impossible. With his strength, there wasn't much need to send an infant realm expert to protect him. This was because his strength was already strong enough among the infant realm. If he really encountered a strong enemy, he could run even if he couldn't win. But now, compared to this young miss in front of him, he was simply a poor prince. The other party was already a terrifying existence of half-step immortal gods. It didn't say that there were 10 infant realm experts following him on the surface. There were even 4 terrifying hidden experts in the dark, killing 1 half-step immortal god and 3 infant realm experts with a single move. Amazing. This protective force was practically invincible under the current situation where the immortal god was forbidden to make a move. This grand aunt is fucking awesome, my little life is finally saved. Feng Lingtian's eyes revealed an excited expression, almost waving his flag and shouting. Little slave, calm down, there's still 1 half-step immortal god and 9 infant realm experts. Xiao Yu waved his hand at him with a smile on his face. Cha, there's still a bunch of scum like them. Young miss, you can handle them all by yourself. After surviving the calamity, Feng Lingtian gave up on his bottom line and said with excitement. How is this possible? The white-bearded old man widened his eyes and scanned his surroundings vigilantly. His scalp was slightly numb. There were actually 4 terrifying experts who were good at hiding around her to protect her. What kind of fucking identity did she have to have such experts to protect her? Didn't they say that she was from a faction in the pugilistic world? When did she become so perverted to casually send 4 such terrifying existences to protect a young girl? Fuck. The remaining 11 people did not even need to attack Feng Lingtian and Xiao Yu. Now, it was time for them to be wary of the attacks around them. They tried their best to sense their surroundings, but they did not sense anyone. This made their expressions even more awkward. It's our turn to attack. Don't be so useless. Pick 2 and leave the rest to me. Xiao Yu held the bone whip in his hand and swung it forward. More than 10 bone whips were like poisonous snakes, coiling around the experts one after another. Ha! If you want to kill this young master will kill all of you today. Feng Lingtian's face revealed an excited expression. The 6 spirit swords in his interspatial ring instantly attacked the 2 infant realm experts. Damn it! The faces of the people from the chaotic origin immortal sect were extremely unsightly. The side that originally surrounded and attacked was actually attacked now. Kill! The experts from the chaotic origin immortal sect braced themselves and instantly went up to meet the attack. Numerous golden sword lights and saber lights slashed towards the bone whip. HMPitch, you think you can kill me? Xiao Yu snorted coldly. The bone whip in her hand shook, and numerous sword lights and saber lights directly scattered. Her body moved, and she stood up to attack the white-bearded elder. Chaos Golden Saber. The white-bearded elder's expression changed slightly. He gritted his teeth, and the golden saber in his hand trembled. A resplendent saber light seemed as if it was about to pierce through the void, slashing towards Xiao Yu. Pang! The shield in Xiao Yu's left hand blocked, easily blocking the elder's chaos golden saber. You're courting death. She waved her right hand continuously, and bone whips that emitted terrifying demonic chi shot towards the 9 people around her. Peng peng peng. Golden door-shaped defenses appeared in front of them, blocking the bone whips. Ah! Right at this moment, 4 miserable cries sounded, and 4 terrifying white figures appeared once again. Ha! Awesome! When Feng Lingtian heard the miserable shrieks from the side, he turned around and revealed an excited expression. It's over. 4 more infant realm experts had died and there were only 7 out of 15 of them. The 7 experts from the Chaos Origin Immortal sect revealed expressions of despair. Sir, quickly remove the formation and let us out. The white-bearded old man's eyes revealed a look of fear as he shouted loudly. Everyone was originally in the Chaos Origin formation to prevent Feng Lingtian and Xiao Yu from escaping. However, it had now become their cage, making it difficult for them to escape. Everyone was terrified and wanted to order the immortal god controlling the formation to remove it. At this moment, 4 to 5 people were standing in the air above them. Their expressions were extremely ugly. Sir, Elder Jean and the others have failed. Should we remove the array formation? An old man said with some fear on his face. The flawless ambush attack and even the use of the immortal sect's Chaos Origin array had actually failed. That terrifying 4 white shadows and that powerful girl. Even if they were watching from here, they felt their scalps go numb and some fear. The body of the middle-aged immortal god in the center was slightly trembling, and his eyes were filled with a crazy killing intent. No need. Call all the infant realm experts of the immortal sect over, and bring over the immortal blasting stones. Chapter 736, Beauty Saving Hero 4, 14/20. After paying such a high price, if we still don't succeed, our Chaos Origin Immortal sect will lose a lot of face. Moreover, Grand Elder told him to die, so he must die. The middle-aged man's face was full of frost. The coldness on his face slowly disappeared, and he became extremely indifferent. Yes, Vice Sect Leader. The experts next to him trembled, and a hint of fear flashed through their eyes as they nodded. Hurry up. We must kill him before the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect discovers him. Otherwise, all our efforts will be for naught. Vice Sect Leader, are you going to bring all the immortal destroying demolition stones? The old man asked in a deep voice. Immortal destroying demolition stones were an extremely precious one-time use item. This item was specially used to counter the Immortal Gate's protective array. If there were too many immortal destroying demolition stones, they could even cause damage to immortal gods. It was extremely terrifying. Bring them all. The middle-aged man said with a dark expression. Yes. A few elders quickly flew towards the Chaos Origin Immortal Gate. Are those 4 terrifying creatures human or not? How can they have such a powerful concealment effect? And the strength of that girl is definitely not something an ordinary half-step immortal god can compare to. The former Jianghu Dragon Gate, a faction in the real world, how could they have such terrifying experts? Could there be even more powerful immortal gods? The middle-aged man's eyes flickered as he looked down. However, at this point, there was no room for retreat. At this moment, within the Chaos Origin Array, the group of experts from the Chaos Origin Immortal sect were in a complete mess. There were only 7 experts left. Not only did they have to face this powerful girl, they also had to be careful of the sudden attack in the air. This caused their hearts to be filled with despair. The 2 infant stage experts were unable to dodge in time and were directly entangled by the 2 bone whips. The bone whips were filled with terrifying sharp blades, directly causing their bodies to be covered in bloody scars. Following that, they were flung heavily. The 2 infant realm experts were killed. Feng Lingtian glanced at Xiao Yu's terrifying attack and couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. However, following that, his eyes were filled with fighting spirit. If he couldn't even compare to a girl, then what kind of man was he? In an instant, the spirit sword in his hand stirred up a violent gale, bringing along a terrifying wind howl as he attacked the 2 infant realm experts in front of him. The 2 of them were already filled with fear, only displaying 70 to 80% of their strength as they passively dodged Feng Lingtian's attack. Pooh. Suddenly, they felt the pain coming from their chests, and their hearts instantly fell into despair. At the same time, there was also a kind of relief. I'm destined to not be able to kill a single person. Fuck, I'm the crown prince, when did I become a gigolo? I need to hide behind a woman. The corner of Feng Lingtian's mouth twitched as he looked to the side. On Xiao Yu's side, there was a completely dominating attitude. This made him sigh at the gap between him and her. It was simply too big. No. The last scream came from the white-bearded elder. In a short 5 minutes, 2 half-step immortal gods and 13 infant realm experts were all killed. Young miss, you are simply too powerful. Feng Lingtian looked at the corpses around him and came to Xiao Yu's side with excitement. Of course, why would I be as useless as you? Xiao Yu mocked him without giving him any face. The corner of Feng Lingtian's mouth twitched and he muttered softly, actually, my strength is also very powerful among those of the same level. TSK, you even said that you, the demonic crown prince, who no one dares to provoke in the entire Yellow Cauldron region, have to give you face. Why? Are you using swords and sabers to give you face? Xiao Yu glared at him and looked around. Wait for me to leave, I'll teach them a lesson. Feng Lingtian said with a slightly red face. The formation hasn't been withdrawn yet, how are we going to leave? Xiao Yu looked around and frowned as she asked Feng Lingtian. Don't worry. There are quite a number of people who have come to Mount Jinming. Very soon, someone will notice something strange here. Feng Lingtian said with a smile. Tell me, if we can see the situation outside, will the people outside also be able to see us? Xiao Yu suddenly said with a frown. Of course. Feng Lingtian nodded his head as though it was a matter of course. How did the array activate just now? Also, if the chaotic immortal sect wanted to kill us, why didn't they remove the array after they failed? Why are they still here? If they were discovered, wouldn't the array be occupied? Xiao Yu asked a series of questions. Feng Lingtian frowned. He had never encountered such a thing since he was born with a golden key in his hand. In the past, no one in the entire Yellow Cauldron world dared to provoke him. As a result, his analytical ability was even inferior to Xiao Yu's. You're really an idiot. Xiao Yu could not help but criticize him when she saw his appearance. I. Feng Lingtian was completely defeated. He opened his mouth and his face fell. Not good. At this moment, Xiao Yu's face revealed an embarrassed expression. In his line of sight, more than 20 experts flew over. All of them were at the infant realm. Feng Lingtian turned his head and looked over. His expression was also slightly embarrassed. The 15 experts from before, together with the 20 experts now, all the infant realm experts from the Chaos Origin Immortal sect are here. Be careful. Xiao Yu's face revealed a vigilant expression. After 15 experts died, more than 20 experts came. Clearly, they weren't seeking death. Jin Beiheng, are you guys going to completely shed all pretense of cordiality with the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect? Right at this moment, an old man glowing with blue light suddenly appeared beside the vice sect master of the Chaos Origin Immortal sect. Seeing this old man arrive, the middle-aged man's expression turned slightly awkward. He asked coldly, "What? You want to save him? Aren't you all afraid that Ling Xiao will disregard the agreement between the immortals and gods and fight to the death with your immortal sect?" The old man with the blue light did not answer his question. His gaze flickered as he asked. Ling Xiao. Since we dare to make a move, then we can deal with Ling Xiao. Our Grand Elder has already broken through. The corners of the middle-aged man's mouth curled up slightly as he stared at the old man with the blue light. I see. Our Upper Nine Immortals sect will not interfere in your grudges. The old man with the blue light on his body nodded slowly and looked down. Below, more than 20 infant realm experts came to the edge of the formation. Each of them was holding a golden stone. Immortal destroying exploding stone. The old man who was emitting a blue light had a trace of surprise in his eyes as he watched silently. Not good, immortal destroying exploding stone. Inside the formation, when Feng Lingtian saw more than 20 infant realm experts taking out the golden stone, his face revealed a look of fear. Run. The power of the immortal blasting stones can threaten immortal realm experts. Let's run. Feng Lingtian was shocked and shouted loudly. At this moment, the formation disappeared and the immortal blasting stones were thrown at them. Chapter 737, Beauty Saving Hero 5, 15/20. Xiao Yu's expression changed slightly when she saw the object they threw at her. She was prepared to flee in all directions. However, the terrifying immortal bursting explosive stone did not attack them from the center. Instead, it sealed off all the areas they could escape from. We're finished. When Feng Lingtian saw the immortal bursting explosive stone that was sealed off, despair appeared on his face. This time, he was even more desperate than when he was surrounded by 15 experts from the immortal sections. Xiao Yu's expression changed slightly, and the black bone shield on his left hand grew bigger. At this moment, Feng Lingtian felt the black bone shield surrounding him. My defense is very strong. Xiao Yu looked at Feng Lingtian and said to him. Boom. However, at this moment, the immortal bursting explosive stones surrounding them exploded. A terrifying power. Even from 100 meters away, Xiao Yu could feel a terrifying energy rushing towards her body. Pooh! Xiao Yu's expression changed drastically as she spat out a mouthful of blood onto Feng Lingtian's body. Not good. Her expression changed. Boom! 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 At this moment, continuous explosions sounded as Xiao Yu spat out a mouthful of blood. Feng Lingtian was completely stunned as he looked at the blood in front of him. Boom! Boom! However, at this moment, an incomparable explosion sounded above their heads. It was as though the sky had collapsed. The ground had collapsed. Crack! Crack! Cracks appeared on Xiao Yu's shield. Her expression changed and a trace of fear appeared in her eyes. The bone shield itself was a part of her body. She was originally a mutated bone dragon and the bone shield was her physical body. Now that the bone shield was cracked, it was equivalent to her body being heavily injured. Crack, crack, crack. The sounds of explosions in the surroundings continued. Drops of fresh blood dripped from the bone shield and fell towards the ground. The fresh blood dripped onto Feng Lingtian's body, causing his dazed eyes to regain some color. The sounds of explosions in the surroundings began to decrease. He quickly looked over and discovered that Xiao Yu's face was extremely pale, as though there was no life left in him. No, why am I so useless? When Feng Lingtian saw this scene, his heart suddenly ached. His eyes were blood red, and his face slowly turned sinister. Drops of fresh blood were spat out from his mouth, and his body was emitting a green wind radiance. The wind light directly tore through his clothes. Pooh! Large mouthfuls of blood were spat out from his mouth, and the entire world seemed to quiet down in his ears. The sound of an explosion, the sound of an immortal breaking stone being thrown over. Ah! His eyes began to bleed. He picked up Feather's body and instantly flew into the sky. Shadowless blood escape. With a roar, he flew towards the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect at a speed that was 3 to 4 times faster than usual. Stop him. Kill him. The surrounding Chaos Origin Immortal sects saw the figure that suddenly flew out and roared loudly. Whoosh! 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 In an instant, golden figures charged towards Windling Tian. Damn it! How can there be such a terrifying defense and that little bastard's explosive speed? So fast. In the sky, the vice sect leader of the Origin Immortal sect looked slightly embarrassed. He clenched his fists tightly and glanced at the old man not far away. Finally, he relaxed. If it was not for the immortal god beside him, he would really dare to take the risk and attack. However, with the immortal god watching from the side, once he made a move, he would break the agreement between the immortal gods. If the immortal god broke the agreement, he would be punished by all the immortal gods. Up until now, no immortal god dared to break the agreement. Because of the rules, the first person who broke the agreement would definitely be the first person who broke the agreement. At that time, his attack would even cause the entire immortal sect to fall into a desperate situation. He did not dare to take the risk. Feng Lingtian's figure flew towards the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect at a terrifying speed. The people behind him could not keep up at all. The wind attribute was already one of the top 2 in terms of speed. Now that Feng Lingtian had used the blood sacrifice to explode, his speed was even more terrifying. None of the experts of the Chaos Origin Immortal sect had expected that they would be able to withstand the attack of the Immortal Blasting Stone. If a half-step immortal god was hit by these immortal blasting stones, he would instantly be heavily injured. If a few dozen immortal god experts were hit at the same time, they would also be injured. At this moment, several deep craters that were hundreds of meters deep appeared on the spot where the explosion had occurred. If it wasn't for Xiao Yu being a mutated bone dragon, if it were any other divine dragon, the Earth Divine Dragon would probably not have been killed by the explosion. The other divine dragons would all die under this terrifying attack. We're almost there, we're almost there. Feng Lingtian hugged Xiao Yu's body and turned into a green light. Someone. The Yellow Heaven Immortal sect was right in front of them, and the Infant Realm experts from the Chaos Origin Immortal sect behind them stopped with ugly expressions. Feng Lingtian's shrill voice rang out from the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect. This caused everyone from the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect to be completely stunned. It's the Crown Prince's voice. It's Ling Tian's voice. Shocked voices rang out one after another, and the expressions of the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect experts changed drastically as they instantly flew into the sky. The Crown Prince's voice was too shrill, causing them to panic. Crown Prince. Ling Tian. Ling Tian. When the group of Immortal Sect's Infant Realm experts saw Feng Lingtian's figure, their faces changed drastically as they flew over. The group of experts instantly used wind energy to support Feng Lingtian's body. Hurry up and save him. Hurry up. Feng Lingtian looked at the elders and deacons around him and shouted loudly. I'm too useless, too useless. I actually need a woman to protect me. Feng Lingtian kept on saying, causing the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect's experts' expressions to change. Lingtian, go to the Medicine Peak, let's go to the Medicine Peak. Everyone quickly looked at Xiaoyu in his arms, looking at the bone shield that was bleeding, and their expressions changed. So. Everyone instantly landed on a mountain peak. Bring all the medicinal pills of the Immortal Sect over, bring them all over. Ling Tian frantically ordered. Yes, yes, old Feng, bring over all the medicinal pills in the Immortal Sect, all of them. When the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect's experts saw their crown prince in such a crazed state, their expressions changed drastically as they shouted. Save her, we must save her. Ling Tian's mind seemed to have been stimulated as he roared in anger. Ling Tian, calm down. Miss Wang Yu still has a lot of hope, it's just that her body has suffered a powerful attack. Elder Feng sensed little Yu's body and heaved a sigh of relief as he spoke to Ling Tian. Ling Tian, who attacked you? An old man handed Ling Tian one pill after another as he spoke with killing intent in his eyes. It's the Chaos Origin Immortal Sect. They used the Chaos Origin formation to trap us and used the Immortal Bursting Explosion Stone to attack us. If it wasn't for her blocking the attack for me, I'm afraid. I'm too useless. If it weren't for her, 2 half-step immortal gods and 13 infant realm experts would have already killed me. As Feng Lingtian spoke, he actually started to cry. He squatted on the ground and kept blaming himself. Chapter 738, Injured, 16/20. The group of Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect elders and deacons looked at each other in dismay as they looked at their own crown prince. This was the first time they had seen their own optimistic crown prince in such a manner. That overbearing crown prince with terrifying talent who was always optimistic all day had actually squatted on the ground and started crying. The self-reproach on his face caused their faces to reveal a pained expression. From the crown prince's words, they could guess a little. 2 half-step immortal god, 13 infant realm experts, and that terrifying immortal bursting explosive stone. With their crown prince's strength, he had no way of resisting. Just 2 half-step immortal god experts were enough to make it difficult for the crown prince to escape. Now that their crown prince could escape, it was obviously related to the heavily injured Miss Wang Yu. They had also heard from Elder Feng that the girl's strength was extremely terrifying and it wouldn't take long for her to step into the immortal realm. Primordial Immortal Sect, you are all courting death. Elder Feng's eyes were ice cold as he growled. Immediately activate the highest alert of the Immortal Sect and prepare for battle. An elder with a walking stick said in a deep voice. It's the Great Elder. The elders and deacons of the Immortal Sect immediately responded loudly. I'll contact the sect leader. We must cure this lady, no matter how many pills we consume. Elder Feng, enlighten the crown prince. The old man with a walking stick gave out orders one after another. In an instant, dozens of Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect experts immediately began to carry out their orders. The Hunyuan Immortal Sect had sent out such an expert to kill their crown prince. This was equivalent to declaring war. The sect leader only had one son, and he was also the future sect leader's successor of their immortal sect. They couldn't afford to lose him. Dong dong dong. Dong dong dong. The rapid bell chimes resounded throughout Yellow Heaven City and Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect, ringing incessantly in their ears. This caused the expressions of everyone in Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect and Yellow Heaven City to change drastically. Highest alert. Everyone, prepare your weapons. A roar resounded throughout Yellow Heaven City. In an instant, everyone entered battle mode. Highest alert. Highest alert. The actions of the Chaos Origin Immortal Sect could already be upgraded to a war between immortal sections. Everything had to wait for the sect leader to come back and give the order. What's going on? Why is it the highest alert? At this moment, in a street in Yellow Heaven City, Elder Fan and the people from Thorn's sect had a slight change in expression. What is the highest alert? Elder Fan immediately asked the people from the Thorn sect to the side. The highest alert means entering a state of battle. A war can break out at any time. This war is the war of the entire immortal sect. The people from the Thorn sect said with faces full of fear. What happened? Elder Fan furrowed her brows and her expression changed slightly. She immediately picked up her phone to call Xiao Yu. However, the call could not get through. This caused her to have a bad premonition. I'll go look for Xiao Yu first. Elder Fan's figure moved and flew directly towards the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect's location. The 10 draconids not far away also furrowed their brows and hurriedly followed. This lady. Is Xiao Yu in your immortal sect? Yes, Miss Xiao Yu and our crown prince are in danger. Miss Xiao Yu is currently recuperating. Bring me there immediately. Elder Fan followed an elder from the immortal sect to the medicine peak. When he saw the pale-faced Xiao Yu lying on the bed, his expression changed slightly. Don't worry, Miss Wang Yu is already fine and is currently recovering. We will use the best medicinal pills to treat Miss Wang Yu. An elder in the room saw Elder Fan enter and immediately walked over to say. Let me take a look at her. Elder Fan's expression was somewhat awkward, and he walked over with some self-blame in his heart. Sensing the injuries on her body, he heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. As both were mutated bone dragons, Elder Fan knew that Xiao Yu was only heavily injured and was not seriously injured. His gaze swept past the medicinal pills that contained powerful energy. These medicinal pills were enough to allow Xiao Yu to recover. His heart that had been lifted up also relaxed. With Xiao Yu's strength, how could he be injured when he was secretly protected by a half-step immortal god and 3 infant realm experts? Elder Fan's gaze swept past Feng Lingtian who was lying on the bed, and he spoke with Elder Feng and the others with a gloomy face. The Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect's Great Elder and Elder Feng were slightly surprised when they heard her words. Pa! 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 At this moment, drops of blood suddenly dripped onto the ground. Everyone was stunned. The faces of the elders of the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect changed, and they immediately took out their weapons. Strange demon, are you injured? Show yourselves. Elder Fan swept his gaze over, and his face changed slightly as he hurriedly said. Bzz. A strange demon appeared. His body emitted a faint white light. The white light energy slowly dissipated, revealing his true body. There was a terrifying wound on his body. Elder Fan's expression changed slightly. He immediately took out pills from his interspatial ring. Please give me some pills. Elder Fan said with a dark expression. The Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect elders beside him all sucked in a breath of cold air when they saw the strange demon. A trace of fear flashed through their eyes. He was so heavily injured, yet he was still able to hide in the room and not be discovered by them. The person who shocked him the most was a very strange creature. Please hurry up. A trace of impatience appeared in Elder Fan's eyes, and a faint aura emanated from his body. Everyone was shocked again. They looked at each other and said, immediately take the medicinal pills to treat him. Of the 4 strange demons, only one has appeared. I'm afraid the others have already. Elder Fan's face was dark. At this moment, she saw Feng Lingtian walking towards Xiao Yu's bed. Her face was slightly dark as she said, Feng Lingtian, what exactly has happened to Xiao Yu? Let me tell you. Elder Feng looked at Elder Fan and slowly began to explain. Huh? Before they could say anything, a voice came from Xiao Yu's side. Elder Fan was stunned and immediately walked over. Xiao Yu, are you alright? Are you alright? Feng Lingtian, who was standing at the side, saw that Xiao Yu had woken up and asked with an excited expression. Have you escaped? That's good. Looks like you still have some use. Xiao Yu looked at Feng Lingtian and smiled. I'm useless. I'm completely useless. Feng Lingtian stood there with his head lowered, his body trembling slightly. Xiao Yu was stunned for a moment, before squeezing out a smile. It's still useful. Without you, we wouldn't have been able to escape. They are here to kill me. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have. Feng Lingtian lowered his head and said softly. Alright, if I didn't ask you to bring me to play, you wouldn't have been attacked. Everything is in the past, why are you still acting like a girl? Xiao Yu said, amused. Xiao Yu, if I had followed you today, you might not have been hurt. Elder Fan walked over and said to her with some self-reproach. Master, why would I blame you? It's not my fault. I was only hurt a little. Xiao Yu smiled. I'll tell your brother about this now. Elder Fan took out his phone and said. No, there's no need. I'll tell you when I'm better. Xiao Yu immediately shook his head and looked at his master. 3 strange demons may have died. Elder Fan sighed and said. Then I'll tell my brother. Xiao Yu was startled and said with some hesitation. Chapter 739, Strength, 17/20. Brother. In the morning, Wang Xian suddenly received a call from Xiao Yu when he arrived at the first-grade pavilion that had been renovated. What's wrong? Are you coming back this afternoon or tomorrow morning? Wang Xian asked with a smile. I'm injured. Xiao Yu's slightly weak voice was heard. Huh? Wang Xian was stunned. A hint of coldness flashed in his eyes. I'll be there right away. Brother, don't come over. I'm calling you now. My injuries aren't too serious. I'll be fine in a few days. However, 3 of the strange demons might have died. Xiao Yu said to Wang Xian with a bitter expression. Just wait for me there. Wang Xian took a deep breath and said to Xiao Yu. Brother, I said it's fine. I'm not young anymore. I can't let you come whenever something happens. Xiao Yu said to him. Forget it, forget it. I'll let Ao Jian and Mo Qinglong and the rest go over. Wang Xian nodded. After chatting with him for a while, he hung up the phone. My younger sister has grown up. Hee. Wang Xian smiled faintly. Following that, his expression darkened as he looked at Mo Qinglong. Bring all the Ao Jian Ao demons and all the disciples of the Dragon Gate. Those who have already left, get them to head to the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect. Contact Elder Fan when the time comes and let me know. This is a piece of soul-returning wood. Give it to the demonic beasts and see if you can revive the 3 demonic beasts that died. Head over immediately. It's the Dragon King. Mo Qinglong replied immediately. His body moved and he flew into the distance immediately. As long as I can protect him for as long as possible. Wang Xian smiled faintly and walked towards the villa. At this moment, a shadow flashed across the sky above the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect. It was almost as if he had teleported. The shadow landed at the Medicine Peak and entered it directly. Sect leader. When the crowd saw the middle-aged man's figure, they immediately called out respectfully. N. The middle-aged man's face darkened as his gaze swept over and landed on Feng Lingtian. Hey, are you stupid? What are you standing here for? Feng Lingtian stood beside Xiao Yu's bed with his head lowered, thinking about something. Xiao Yu could not help but call out to him. Lingtian. The middle-aged man shouted at his son and walked over. Father. Feng Lingtian turned his head and revealed a self-mocking smile. Father, come and see Xiao Yu. See if you can treat her quickly. The middle-aged man was stunned when he saw his son's expression. He then turned to look at Xiao Yu and nodded. He then took out a medicinal pill from his interspatial ring. Level 8 Healing Medicine. The injuries on her body can be completely healed in 2 days. The middle-aged man said and handed it to Elder Fan. Elder Fan looked at it and directly put it into Xiao Yu's mouth. I have a simple understanding of the matter. Thank you for saving my son. Thank you. The middle-aged man looked at Xiao Yu and thanked him. Father, I'm useless. Feng Lingtian said with an ugly expression. If you're useless, then cultivate well. The middle-aged man patted his shoulder and said, Father will avenge you for this. I will. Feng Lingtian clenched his fists and looked at Xiao Yu. He said with determination, Don't worry, I'll let you protect me this time. I'll protect you in the future. Just you, cultivate for 8 lifetimes. Xiao Yu said with a smile. Feng Lingtian was stifled by her words and gritted his teeth, just you wait. Sect leader, where did the Chaos Origin Immortal sect get the guts to attack Lingtian? Elder Ming walked to the side of the middle-aged man and asked with a serious expression. I met Jin Gujia today. He has already broken through to the middle stage immortal realm. It must be because I killed his son that he would spare no expense to kill Ling Tian. As the middle-aged man spoke, his eyes flashed with killing intent. However, since they dare to attack, we will accompany them to the end. Establish an assassination team and kill them for me. The strength of our Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect's disciples far surpasses that of his Chaos Origin Immortal Sect. Since they dare to kill Ling Tian, they must be prepared to die. It's the sect leader. I will be in charge of the assassination team. Elder Feng's expression was solemn as he said, so what if the golden ancient Jia has broken through to the middle immortal realm? Right now, we are competing in the strength of the disciples of the immortal sect. Since they dare to touch us, they will have to bear the consequences of our crazy revenge. All right. The middle-aged man nodded his head slowly. Elder Feng immediately went out to prepare. The middle-aged man looked at his son and then at Xiao Yu who was lying on the bed. A faint smile appeared on his face. When his eyes fell on the strange creature lying on the bed next to him, a look of surprise appeared in his eyes. The great elder of the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect walked over and reported the situation one by one. Not long after, Elder Fan received a call from Mo Qinglong. Sect Master Feng, Brother Xiao Yu has sent someone over. I'll go and pick him up. I'll have to trouble your immortal sect to pass through. Elder Fan said to the middle-aged man. Okay. The middle-aged man nodded. Miss Fan, I'll go with you. The great elder of the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect, who was holding a cane, said to Elder Fan. Okay. Elder Fan nodded and flew out. At the entrance of the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect, a group of Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect disciples stared at the group of people in front of them vigilantly. More than 80 draconids followed a Jiaya and Tang Yinxian out of 30 people. The other 50 draconids had all arrived. In addition, Ao Jian and the 8 strange demons who were hidden in the air. And Ao Jian. The bodies of these people contained terrifying energy, making the disciples of the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect full of vigilance. The great elder of the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect swept his gaze across the crowd with a face full of shock. Ao Jian, come with me. Elder Fan said to them. Yes. Ao Jian nodded and followed Elder Fan towards Yao Feng. As soon as he stepped into the room, the middle-aged man instantly turned his head and stared at Ao Jian. His eyes flickered. Eldest princess. Ao Jian walked to Xiao Yu's side and called out respectfully. Eldest princess. At this moment, Ao Yao did not hide his figure. A white figure slowly appeared and called out. When the middle-aged man saw Ao Yao appear out of thin air, his expression changed drastically. A trace of shock flashed across his eyes. Yes, Ao Yao, go and take a look at your subordinates. Xiao Yu squeezed out a smile and said to Ao Yao. It's the eldest princess. Ao Yao nodded and moved to the side of the strange demon. Leader. The strange demon shouted in a low voice. Take me to the other 3 places of death. The strange demon said indifferently. Yes. Ao Yao helped the strange demon up, and the 2 figures disappeared into thin air. 2 immortal gods, and one of them has a terrifying concealing ability. A trace of shock flashed through the middle-aged man's eyes, and his gaze swept towards the position of the door, and the shock in his eyes became even greater. Over 50 infant realm experts. The girl's elder brother directly sent over a terrifying force that was comparable to their immortal sect. Chapter 740, Gate of Immortality and Assassination 1, 18/20. To send such a terrifying force just for his own sister, it really is. Inside the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect, Ling Zhao's gaze swept across the group of powerful forces, and he was slightly shocked. He looked at the young girl lying on the bed and thought of Ao Jian and the name Ao Yao creature. The eldest princess. In ancient times, only the emperor's sister was called the eldest princess. Obviously, the Dragon King was their king. Between immortals and gods, even a lower immortal would not be so respectful to a higher immortal. Not to mention that an immortal would treat a girl who had not reached the level of an immortal. To address the eldest princess respectfully, one could imagine the position of the girl in the Dragon King's heart. One had to know that his own son, the infant realm experts of the sect, would not normally address him as the crown prince, but directly address Ling Tian. This was because this was the dignity of the strong. Unless his son stepped into the immortal realm, only then could he be addressed as the crown prince. One could imagine how much the Dragon King doted on his sister. Sect leader, the assassination team has been formed. 10 infant realm experts and 50 Dan realm experts are waiting outside the door. Elder Feng came to the medicine peak and swept his gaze across the group of draconids at the door with a face full of surprise. His gaze was directed at their sect master, Ling Xiao. Yes. Ling Xiao nodded slightly and slowly walked out of the door. Trash. At the side, Ao Jian and Mo Qinglong heard what Elder Fan had said to them. Ao Jian coldly looked at Feng Lingtian, who was not far away, and snorted coldly. Feng Lingtian heard Ao Jian's words and looked a little embarrassed. He lowered his head. Okay. Ao Jian, don't talk about him. It's already good enough that he can bring me out. Xiao Yu, who was at the side, had recovered a lot after taking a large number of pills. When she heard Ao Jian's words and looked at Feng Lingtian's face, she hurriedly said. It's the eldest princess. The Dragon King said that I'll protect you in the future. Ao Jian nodded and said to Xiao Yu. No need. Forget it. I'll tell my brother. Xiao Yu waved her hand when she heard that Ao Jian was going to protect her. She knew what it meant to be an immortal-level powerhouse. To ask him to protect her was simply. However, Xiao Yu was very happy with her brother's love for her. No matter what danger she encountered, her brother would always be there. Princess, let's go and take care of some matters. Mo Qinglong, who had just contacted Wang Xian, walked over and said respectfully to Xiao Yu. Okay, go. Xiao Yu nodded and looked at Feng Lingtian. Hey, little slave, is there something wrong with your brain? Seeing that he was motionless, Xiao Yu could not help but shout. No, my brain is very normal. Feng Lingtian looked at Ao Jian's figure and said, I'm thinking, when will I have the strength of your brother? With this kind of power, I can protect you in the future instead of you protecting me. Xiao Yu was stunned for a moment before a smile appeared on his face. Don't compare yourself with my brother. My brother cannot be compared to anyone else. You are not bad yourself. A heaven's favored son, a demon prince, you are much more powerful than many other heaven's favored sons. Feng Lingtian was slightly bitter. If I don't compare myself to your brother, even you cannot be compared to him. I am different from you. You should have noticed something as well, so don't compare yourself to me. Don't compare yourself to my brother. Just be a good little slave from now on. Don't think too much. Xiao Yu said with a smile. Her brother had turned her into a divine dragon. Xiao Yu knew that their starting point had already far surpassed that of ordinary people. Even if Feng Lingtian was as strong as the #1 heaven's favorite of Yellow Cauldron and the evildoer Crown Prince, he was still a human and could not be compared to them. I don't want to be a little slave. Feng Lingtian said with an embarrassed expression. What? You still want to be the master? Xiao Yu rolled her eyes at him and waved her hand. Let's retire, little slave. I'm too tired. I want to rest for a while. Feng Lingtian looked at Xiao Yu, who had her eyes closed, in a daze. Seeing her eyelashes flutter slightly, a hint of bitterness appeared on her face again. The Immortal Sect will provide you with all the information. This time, experts above the Dan stage are the targets of our assassination. We will kill anyone we see. However, don't be careless. Since the Hunyuan Immortal Sect dares to declare war against us, they will definitely have a backup plan, especially since the Supreme Elder of the Hunyuan Immortal Sect has already broken through to the middle-level Immortal Realm. According to the agreement of the Yellow Cauldron, 3 immortal sects, the heaven and earth will belong to them. This assassination will last for a very long time. Everyone, get ready. At the entrance, Ling Xiao ordered the group of Immortal Sect disciples in front of him with a dark expression. The Hunyuan Immortal Sect dared to attack his son. As an immortal god, Ling Xiao would naturally retaliate. Otherwise, it would be a waste to be an immortal god. Regardless of whether or not the other party's strength had increased significantly, they had to pay a heavy price for this assassination. Ling Xiao was already prepared to fight for a long time. Sect leader Ling, does the agreement between the immortals and gods mean that immortal-level experts are not allowed to make a move? At this moment, Mo Qinglong and Ao Jian walked out from the side and looked at Ling Xiao. Mo Qinglong asked. Ling Xiao glanced at Ao Jian and knew what they meant. With the Dragon King's love for his sister, he might really dare to make immortal-level experts make a move. It's best if the immortal-level experts don't fight, even if you haven't signed the immortal-level agreement. Ling Xiao looked at Ao Jian, he slowly reminded, the immortal-level experts are not allowed to fight in the immortal-level agreement. If the immortal-level experts have grudges, they can be resolved in 2 ways. One is a disciple battle. Each immortal sect will choose some disciples to fight to the death. The other method is a battle between the immortals and gods. Apply to all the immortals and gods. Under the agreement of both parties, a life-and-death battle will be held in a desert or an ocean. As for the rest, when someone attacks an immortal god, the immortal god can directly kill the attacker. When someone barges into the immortal sect, the immortal god can attack without any scruples. If the immortals do not attack because of the above conditions, they will be punished by all the immortals and killed. Ao Jian and Mo Qinglong nodded slowly, their eyes shining. In that case. Mo Qinglong glanced at the members of the Dragon Gate in front of him. Block the gate of the Primordial Immortal Gate. Kill every single one of them who comes out. I still have 5 subordinates on my side. Let them enter the interior of the Primordial Immortal Gate and assassinate them. Just as Mo Qinglong finished speaking, Strange Demon's voice came from the void. All right. Since the immortals and deities cannot attack, then we will not attack. Ao Jian nodded with a cold gaze. Mo Qinglong will lead all the dragon men to block their immortal gate. Strange Demon will enter and assassinate them. They dared to hurt our eldest princess. Let them know what fear is and what despair is. Block the gate of immortality, assassinate. Chapter 741, Immortal Gate Blocking and Assassination 2, 19/20. Immortal Gate Blocking. Assassination. Ling Xiao, Huang Tian, and the others who were standing at the side were stunned. Their eyes widened as they looked at Mo Qinglong and the others in astonishment. What was the immortal gate blocking? It was a group of experts surrounding the entrance of another immortal gate. If the other party came out, they would kill them one by one. This was clearly telling you that if I wanted to fuck you, you could come out and fuck us. If you don't dare to come out, fine, then don't come out. If you don't come out, they won't care. We'll go assassinate you. This is a kind of aboveboard bullying, an aboveboard insult, and it's aboveboard to kill you. The Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect's assassination team was dumbstruck. You're trying to block an immortal sect from the Nine Cauldrons world. How can you be so awesome? Now, their Hunyuan immortal sect was trying to assassinate their crown prince, the son of their sect leader. At most, they would set up an assassination team to take revenge using assassination methods. That was because even if 15 top-tier experts of the Hunyuan immortal sect died, they still had a power that could not be ignored. If they were to fight, their Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect would also suffer heavy losses. But now, this group of people wanted to directly block the Immortal Sect. This was too arrogant. However, feeling the strength of this group of people, they pursed their lips and fell silent again. More than 50 Infant Realm experts. This force was even more than the Infant Realm experts of their Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect. In particular, besides the 5 people on the surface, according to the voice in the void, he still had 5 subordinates. These 5 subordinates might be around them, so they couldn't sense it. Even their sect leader couldn't find their specific location. A terrifying assassin, a natural-born assassin. This power did indeed have the right to block the Immortal Sect after 15 experts of the Chaos Origin Immortal Sect had died. And that terrifying assassin also had the ability to enter the Immortal Sect and assassinate the disciples of the Chaos Origin Immortal Sect. Sect Master Ling, I'll have to trouble everyone to take care of our eldest princess. Ao Jian said to Ling Xiao. Then, the group of people moved and flew directly towards the Chaos Origin Immortal Sect. Ling Xiao's eyes sparkled as he watched the group of people fly away. What a domineering behavior. Elder Feng's eyes sparkled as he stared at the group of people flying away. His face was filled with shock as he said. They are very strong. That middle-aged man who is like a sharp sword and that terrifying creature in the void. When they join forces, their strength is not weaker than mine. Ling Xiao said with a slight sigh. The moment Ao Yao appeared, he even felt a sense of fear. The other party took advantage of his unpreparedness and very likely assassinated him. Sect leader, then we. Elder Feng looked at the group of people in front of him somewhat awkwardly. 10 nascent realm and 30 Dan realm. This was already a very powerful force. However, compared to the group of people just now, they were simply too weak. They were still preparing to launch a sneak attack, while the others were openly blocking the Immortal Sect. The two were on completely different levels. They're theirs, we're ours. Ling Xiao said slowly. It's the sect leader. Elder Feng knew what the sect leader meant. His son had been assassinated, and in the end, there were even more people who had been implicated by a girl. How should he put it? There was a sense of shame and humiliation. This made him feel how his own son felt in front of that girl. Ling Xiao shook his head. Let's go over and take a look. We can't lose. Elder Feng's figure moved, and he led the assassination team to fly towards the location of the Chaos Origin Immortal Sect. The Chaos Origin Immortal Sect was located in a valley. The entrance to the valley was the entrance to the Hunyuan city of the Hunyuan Immortal Sect. It extended all the way to the back and was the Hunyuan Immortal Sect. The entire area had a circumference of 50 kilometers. The Hunyuan city had a population of 2 to 3 million people. 80% of them were disciples and family members of the Hunyuan Immortal Sect. On both sides of the Hunyuan city were huge mountains, creating a super city that was easy to defend but hard to attack. The gate of the city of origin was 20 meters high and 40 to 50 meters wide. From afar, it looked very spectacular. After the yellow heaven immortal gate sounded the alarm, the gate of origin not far away also sounded the alarm. They did not dare to guarantee that Ling Xiao would not go crazy and start a war between the two immortal gates. Therefore, the entire gate of origin was in a state of alert. On the city wall above the Chaos Origin Immortal Sect, a group of Chaos Origin city guards stood on top of it to patrol. The Chaos Origin Immortal Sect only has one main entrance. There might be a secret passage, but we can just block it here. The sun was high up in the sky. From afar, one could see more than 50 figures walking towards the direction of the Chaos Origin City with murderous auras. The main entrance of the Chaos Origin City was not closed because there was no need to close it. Although the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect and the Hunyuan Immortal Sect had shed all pretense of cordiality, the Hunyuan City belonged to the immortal gods. Once someone dared to break in, the immortal gods could kill the intruders. There were many trucks outside the gate of the Hunyuan Immortal Sect. The words Hunyuan were written on the trucks. Obviously, these were the trucks that the Hunyuan Immortal Sect had purchased outside. The Hunyuan Immortal Sect only has this one city gate. We can just block them here. Mo Qinglong looked around and a cold expression appeared on his face. Strange demon, don't make a move for the time being. First, block them outside the city. Then, go to the city and kill them. Finally, kill them inside the Immortal Sect. Ao Jian stopped. Strange demon and I will not show ourselves. Ao Jian and Strange demon, you don't have to show yourselves. Just leave it to us disciples of the Dragon Gate. If the immortal gods don't show themselves, we disciples of the Dragon Gate won't even care about a Hunyuan Immortal Sect. Mo Qinglong said confidently. Mo Qinglong's current strength was at the half-step immortal god realm, while the others were all at the peak of the infant realm. With the cultivation under the spiritual energy waterfall and the one-year cultivation under the star guiding disc, their strength far surpassed the ordinary infant realm. Moreover, because of the divine dragon bloodline, although their combat strength was not at the half-step immortal god level, they could still resist 5 or 6 half-step immortal gods. The guy in front, you're standing in the middle and looking for death. Get lost. The truck was traveling on the road. When it saw Mo Qinglong and the others walking in the middle of the road, a middle-aged man stuck his head out and berated them. Are they from the Chaos Origin Immortal Sect? Mo Qinglong asked indifferently. That's right. Get out of the way. Don't court death. As the truck drove on without slowing down, the middle-aged man roared. That's right. Mo Qinglong and the others were expressionless. Motherfucker, who are these guys? The middle-aged man in the truck revealed a hint of anger. Get out of the way. Since they won't budge, I'll just ram them and kill them. Those who dared to block the path of their primordial immortal sect were courting death. This is a warning period. Don't tell me they're from the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect. The driver was slightly taken aback as he asked. If they're not from the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect, then I don't know where they came from to seek death in the real world. Just ram straight into them. I can't believe they won't budge. All right. Chapter 742, Immortal Gate and Assassination 3, 2020. Boom. A loud sound was heard at the gate of the Chaos Origin Immortal Gate. The loud sound was like a terrifying explosion. A few trucks that were rushing over were directly blown away in the middle of the road. A Draconid retracted his palm and continued to walk towards the city gate. 50 people were walking over, but they had an aura that could destroy a city. At this moment, the Hunyuan city guards standing on top of the city gate all looked over in astonishment. What happened? A middle-aged man looked over with a cold gaze. He narrowed his eyes and stared at the 50 or so members of the Dragon Palace who were walking toward them. "Captain, they overturned our truck leaving the city. Could they be from the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect?" A young man stood on top of the 20-meter-tall city gate, looking down and asking with a frown. "No, they have short hair, and their aura is different from that of the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect. I can't tell their cultivation level." The middle-aged man stared down and then snorted coldly. "Humph, they dare to attack our truck. Let's go down." The middle-aged man moved and flew down directly. Around him, more than 10 guards immediately followed. "Who are you? How dare you attack our truck? Do you know that you are courting death?" The middle-aged man took out the spirit sword in his hand and coldly looked at Mo Qinglong and the others. With their backs against the majestic Hunyuan city and the Hunyuan Immortal sect, the guards of the Hunyuan city were not afraid of the 50 or so people. "People from the Dragon Gate." Mo Qinglong did not stop. He looked at the 10 or so guards and waved his arm. A 10-meter-long demonic chi dragon claw directly attacked them. Enemy attack. The faces of the Hunyuan city guards changed drastically. They roared loudly and pulled out their swords to attack the demonic chi dragon claw. Aw! However, like ants shaking a tree, the dozen or so city guards couldn't stop them at all. They let out miserable shrieks. The sounds of enemy attacks and miserable shrieks traveled to the city gate of the chaotic origin immortal sect, causing the expressions of all the other city guards standing on the city gate to change slightly. "Who dares to kill people in front of the city gate of the chaotic origin immortal sect?" The voice of an infant realm expert who was guarding not far away from the city gate was heard. Soon after, an old man floated above the city gate and stared coldly at Mo Qinglong and the others. Mo Qinglong and the others did not answer. They raised their heads and glanced at the old man before walking toward the city gate expressionlessly. The old man sensed their strength and a trace of solemnity appeared on his face. 500 meters away from the city, Mo Qinglong and the others stopped. The 50-meter-long dragon people lined up on the wide road. "From today onwards, we will kill every single disciple of the chaotic origin immortal sect that we see." At that moment, a cold voice rang out from inside Hunyuan City. The voice rang out for a radius of more than 10 kilometers. The old man standing above the city gate was stunned. In the city, the Hunyuan immortal sect experts who heard the voice were slightly stunned. "Fuck, you're courting death." When the old man heard Mo Qinglong's words, his face instantly turned extremely ugly. A group of 50 people came to the entrance of their Hunyuan city. In the end, they said that they would kill every single Hunyuan immortal sect disciple they encountered. This was a blatant insult to their immortal sect. And from their stance, it was obvious that they wanted to block the gate. A blatant provocation and insult. The old man stood in the air 100 meters in front of the city gate. His body moved, and metal swords appeared one after another. "Leave him alone." Mo Qinglong looked at the old man who was 100 meters away from the city gate, and a trace of coldness appeared in his eyes. "Yes." A series of voices sounded, and then the two draconids moved and attacked the old man at a terrifying speed. Infant realm. The old man's expression changed greatly when he saw the draconids who attacked him in an instant. The 1,000 metal longswords behind his back instantly covered the two of them, and he prepared to retreat. Two people who came out casually already had the strength of the infant realm, and there were more than 50 people on the other side. Could it be that all of them were at the infant realm? Trying to escape. One of the draconid's arms enlarged and turned into a terrifying dragon claw that was 2 to 3 meters long. The dragon claw was covered with black dragon scales, making it look extremely terrifying. They completely ignored the metal longswords that were attacking them. With a wave of their dragon claws, they instantly attacked the elder. Not good, so strong. Feeling the attack from behind, the elder's expression changed slightly, and he hurriedly turned around to block. Another draconid moved forward, and golden metal longswords landed on his body, but they were blocked by the black scales on his body. The elder who had just turned around saw a draconid approaching him, and his expression changed again. He was entangled. Devil-splitting dragon claw. The terrifying dragon claw carried a black sharpness as it directly tore towards the elder's body. The elder's expression changed drastically, and the metal longswords revolved around him, forming a powerful defense. Ka ka ka. The dragon claws made an ear-piercing sound as they landed on his body. Die. At this moment, another draconid had arrived. The terrifying dragon claws directly covered his entire body. Oh no. A trace of fear flashed through the old man's eyes. His entire body emitted a terrifying golden light. 1,000 needles, 10,000 needles, 100,000 needles. Numerous finger-sized golden auroras formed a terrifying metal attack. Boom! However, before the metal could form, 2 terrifying dragon claws struck the old man's body. Ah! The old man widened his eyes, raised his head and roared, wanting to block the attack. Boom! Another attack came, and the old man's voice came to an abrupt halt. A draconid grabbed the old man's body with his dragon claws and threw him towards Hunyuan City. Bang! The old man's body crashed into the city walls on both sides and was embedded into them. Deacon 1. The faces of the few old men who were flying towards them changed drastically as they shouted loudly. The old man had only flown 100 meters away, but this 100 meters was like a natural chasm. He had lost his life on the spot. The 2 draconids moved and returned to a position 500 meters away from the city gate. They looked coldly at the city. The bodies of over 100 nascent soul realm experts from the Chaos Origin Immortal sect who were flying in the sky and daring to come over froze. In a short instant, the nascent soul realm deacon was actually killed. Looking at the more than 50 people who were standing 500 meters away from their city in silence and coldness, they couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. They're standing at the entrance of our city. They're trying to block us outside the city. An old man gritted his teeth and growled in a low voice. Block us outside the city. The disciples of the Chaos Origin Immortal sect immediately had ugly expressions on their faces. Their eyes revealed a crazed killing intent. There was actually someone who dared to block the entrance of their city. Moreover, they would kill anyone who came out. Extremely arrogant. Extremely arrogant. This was simply the first time in the history of the Immortal sect. If someone is really blocked inside the city gate, where is the face? Chapter 743, Cursing the City, 1/5. Who dares to block our city gate? Is it the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect? Are they fucking courting death? Let's go and kill them. Whoever dares to block our city gate, we must teach them a lesson. They were furious. From today onwards, they would kill every Hunyuan Immortal sect disciple they saw. As long as he was a person with blood in his veins, he would be extremely furious when he heard these words. This was especially so for the disciples of the Immortal sect. The Immortal sect, which was high and mighty, was now being blocked at the entrance of their home. They would kill every single one of them who dared to come out. This was simply the most direct insult to their Hunyuan Immortal sect. One by one, the Hunyuan Immortal sect disciples swarmed towards the entrance with weapons in their hands. They were filled with killing intent. Whoosh! 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 Soon, the city gate was densely packed with more than 1,000 people. There were also many Dan stage and Xiantian experts who flew on their flying swords and stood in the air. They looked at the 50 people who were standing 500 meters away from the city gate. All of them had gloomy expressions on their faces. More than 50 people stood in a row with their hands behind their backs. They stared at the city gate with an invincible aura. This attitude and behavior was the greatest contempt for the entire Chaotic Origin Immortal sect. Damn it! More than 50 people are blocking our city gate. Let's kill them. A heaven's favorite of the chaotic origin immortal sect stared at Mo Qinglong and the others below with a face full of anger and shouted loudly. Kill! Kill them! Hang these damn fellows on the city wall and announce to the world the consequences of provoking our chaotic origin immortal sect. The excited chaos origin immortal sect disciples shouted loudly. Go, follow me. A young man who was blinded by anger moved and prepared to attack Mo Qinglong and the others. Retreat! An old man shouted and stopped the young man. Elder, are we just going to watch them act arrogantly in front of us? The young man said angrily. Stop! No one is allowed to go out. The old man moved his body and looked at the corpse embedded in the city wall. His expression was extremely ugly. His body moved and he took out the corpse and held it in his hands. That's Deacon 1. Some of the Hunyuan immortal sect disciples who had just arrived were slightly shocked. Their faces revealed shock. No matter which faction you are from, if you dare to kill our Hunyuan immortal sect's disciples and block us here, we will definitely kill you. The Hunyuan immortal sect's elder's face darkened as he roared angrily. Don't say these useless things. Today, if your Hunyuan immortal sect's disciples dare to attack us, we will definitely let you die here. If you have the guts, come out. Hunyuan immortal sect, hee hee. Mo Qinglong said with a disdainful expression as he crossed his arms in ridicule. His voice once again spread over 10 kilometers of Fang Yuan. This caused the Hunyuan immortal sect disciples standing on the city gate to look as if their eyes were about to split open. Blatant mockery. They had been blocked at the gate. But now, they could only watch. Elder, you must kill them. You must kill all of them. A disciple roared angrily. No one is allowed to leave. Don't worry, none of them can leave. The old man's eyes were cold. He looked up and saw another group of people walking over. They are from the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect. An exclamation came from the side. In the distance, more than 40 people from the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect were flying over. Dong dong dong. At this moment, the sound of the gathering bell rang out from behind the Immortal Sect. No one is to go out. The old man's figure flashed as he flew towards the Immortal Sect. Domineering. At this moment, Elder Feng led a group of assassins from the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect and rushed over. When he saw more than 50 people standing in a row, he couldn't help but sigh. This kind of boldness was not something an ordinary person could achieve. Brother Mo. Elder Feng hesitated for a moment before coming to Mo Qinglong's side and shouting. After all, both sides could be considered allies now. Yes, Elder Feng. I was about to ask my disciple to look for you. Could you please give us information about the Hunyuan Immortal Sect's Heaven's chosen disciples, elders, and deacons? It would be best if you also have information about their residence. We will need it in the next 2 days. Mo Qinglong looked at Elder Feng and said. Okay, we have all this information. Elder Feng naturally knew the purpose of Mo Qinglong's request. He quickly looked at the people beside him and said, Brother Mo, let us join you. Okay. Mo Qinglong nodded. Elder Feng was a little embarrassed. After all, the difference in strength between the two sides was too great. Especially those experts of the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect who were half-step Infant Realm and Dan Realm, it was even more awkward. No matter what, they were still experts and had some status in the Immortal Sect. Now that they were here, they always had the feeling that the fox was using the tiger's might. Cough cough. At this moment, a young man glanced at the experts beside him and then looked towards the city gate. He turned his eyes and slightly raised his head as he jumped over the group of draconids. Little thieves in front, I've already blocked your gate, why don't you dare to come out? Fuck, a group of useless things, they actually dared to sneak attack our crown prince, they actually dared to sneak attack our crown prince's friends, how could they be so fucking cowardly now? Useless things, why are you standing on the city gate? Are you very angry? Then come out, a group of cowards, a group of cowards. Cursing. No, it should be cursing the city. A dance stage expert's voice could be heard for more than 10 kilometers. Those humiliating words immediately caused everyone on the city wall to explode. Fuck, not only was the city blocked, but now they were actually being scolded. Moreover, it was a dance stage expert who was shouting. With a roar, it spread across half of Hunyuan City. What the fuck? Motherfucker, I'm going to kill them. An enraged, burly middle-aged man couldn't help but move his body and directly attacked the young man who was shouting at the top of his lungs. And in an instant, a draconid moved. Pang! Beside the city gate, before anyone could react, the middle-aged man was directly slapped onto the ground by the terrifying dragon claws. The terrifying attack instantly killed the middle-aged man on the spot. When the young man who had cursed the city saw this scene, he could not help but shrink his head. Soon after, a hint of excitement appeared in his eyes. Hey, finally, a man with guts. This is a real man. He would rather die than be humiliated. Look at the bunch of cowardly turtles and trash above you. They are unworthy of being men and are even calling themselves the Hunyuan Immortal Sect. From now on, they will be called the Cowardly Turtle Immortal Sect. As the young man spoke, he eagerly walked to the middle-aged corpse and placed it in the middle of the city gate. He pointed at the corpse and shouted loudly, "Look, this is what heroes are like. You're great heroes, look at yourselves. Turtles, aren't you ashamed?" Chapter 744, Cursing Under the City Wall, 2/5. Aw, I'm going to kill you. This is too infuriating, you bastard. I'll remember you, I'll definitely kill you in the future. Are there any brothers who will rush over with me? I'll kill that fellow today even if I have to die. Everyone, don't be rash, don't fall for their tricks. Our immortal sect's experts will come over immediately. Furious voices rang out one after another. The disciples of the Chaos Origin Immortal Sect on the city wall nearly lost their minds and rushed over. The Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect's disciples' taunts were filled with trash. Also, he actually called them cowards and said that their Chaos Origin Immortal Sect was cowards. A gentleman could be killed but not humiliated. This was no longer a simple insult. In an instant, dozens of people wanted to rush over, but were stopped by the people beside them. They could only listen to the ridicule with extremely gloomy faces. Aggrieved, incomparably aggrieved. However, they had no way at all. There were more than 50 terrifying experts who didn't know the depth of their strength standing in a row. There were also at least 10 infant realm experts from the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect. If they went out, their fate would definitely be the same as that middle-aged man's, dying miserably on the spot. Pooh! A middle-aged man was so angry that he directly spat out blood and panted heavily. The young man's eyes lit up when he saw this situation, and a smug expression appeared on his face. Behind him, the group of Dan Realm experts who felt that they were completely useless were also itching to make a move. Cough cough. The Dan Realm experts from the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect and those who were half a step into the Dan Realm all let out a shrill cry. Cowardly Turtle Immortal Sect, since you dared to attack our Crown Prince yesterday, why don't you even dare to come out of the city gates today? This is the gate of your Hunyuan Immortal Sect. You don't even dare to come out of your own home. Why are you still alive? Why don't you die? Trash, I'm talking about you. Why are you staring? Can your eyes kill me? Trash trash, come, come. If you have the guts, let's fight one-on-one. For a moment, the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect's dance stage experts pointed at the disciples in the city and mocked loudly. With 30 people joining, all sorts of mocking and disdainful words were heard in an instant. That voice not only made the faces of the Hunyuan immortal sect's disciples outside the city gate angry, but also made their eyes bloodshot. Even the Hunyuan immortal sect's disciples and family members inside the city who didn't come over clenched their fists and wished they could rush out. Humiliation, humiliation. When had their Chaos Origin immortal sect ever suffered such humiliation? And since they could not retaliate, how could they retaliate? Scold back. If they really scolded back, then the other party would have even more reason to mock them. They could already imagine that after today, they would become a disgrace to all the immortal sects. A clown that was used as a joke by the other immortal sects. Mo Qinglong smiled when he saw the Yellow Heaven immortal sect disciples cursing the city. It's still very useful. Elder Feng smiled awkwardly and politely when he heard that. Although it was awkward, he was very satisfied with the effect. At this moment, on the main peak of the Chaos Origin immortal sect, 3 immortal gods stood in front, looking down at the elders and deacons of the Chaos Origin immortal sect. There were a total of 26 people. There were more than 40 experts of the Chaos Origin immortal sect who were above the infant realm. 15 of them died yesterday, and another one died today. The strength of the entire peak of the sect was directly lost by 30 to 40%. The 3 immortals stood on top with ugly expressions. Come, let's go. I want to see who dares to block the city gate of our Chaos Origin immortal sect apart from the Yellow Heaven immortal sect. Supreme Elder Jin Gujia, who was standing in the middle, said with a gloomy expression. Let's go. The group of top-tier experts of the primordial immortal sect moved and flew toward the city gate. However, before they reached the gate, they heard mocking voices. This caused the 3 immortals of the primordial immortal sect to tremble, and their faces instantly turned extremely gloomy. Those insults were simply an insult to them and trampling on them. They, the great Chaos Origin immortal sect, had never suffered such a grievance before. The top experts from the Chaos Origin immortal sect following behind were also extremely embarrassed. A terrifying dark cloud gathered in the sky. The terrifying energy was already able to cause changes in nature. Grand Supreme Elder and Sect Leader are here. All the experts from our immortal sect are here. The Grand Elder must kill that group of people outside. He must teach them a lesson. Kill them. When the disciples of the immortal sect saw the immortals and experts of the immortal sect coming, their faces turned red as they shouted loudly. This was the only time that the disciples of the immortal sect lost their minds and did not welcome the Grand Elder and the others. When the 3 immortal gods heard the voices from below, their expressions became even more unsightly. They stood in the sky above the city gate. There were 3 immortal gods and more than 20 experts at the infant realm and above behind them. More than 60 infant realm experts. The 3 immortal gods of the Hunyuan immortal sect swept their gazes over and immediately saw the strength of the 100 people below. More than 60 infant realm experts. When they saw the strength of this group of people, a hint of solemnity flashed in the eyes of the 3 immortal gods. Especially those 50 nascent realm experts who were lined up in a row. They were not from the Yellow Heaven immortal sect. Which faction are you from? You have participated in the matter between us and the Yellow Heaven immortal sect. Do you know the consequences? You will have to pay a heavy price. The Supreme Elder of the Chaos Origin immortal sect looked coldly at Mo Qinglong and the others. His voice resounded throughout the world. You dare to hurt our eldest princess? We will make your Chaos Origin immortal sect pay a heavy price. Mo Qinglong did not reply. At that moment, a cold voice came from the distant void. Everyone was stunned. The noisy Chaos Origin city immediately fell silent. The disciples standing on the city wall looked into the distance in shock. Your eldest princess. Upon hearing the immortal god's voice, the Chaos Origin immortal sect's Grand Elder's expression turned extremely ugly. The middle-aged man next to him had a thought. The image of the girl appeared in his mind. His expression changed, and he immediately sent a voice transmission to the Grand Elder. This caused a serious expression to appear in their eyes. There was actually an immortal god-level existence behind that girl. That attack yesterday had caused their Chaos Origin immortal sect to have an enemy with an immortal god, and it was a powerful enemy from an unknown faction. Clearly, the other party had already fought with the Yellow Heaven immortal sect. This caused the three immortal gods of the Chaos Origin immortal sect to have gloomy expressions on their faces. All their efforts had been for naught. Not only had they failed to kill that kid yesterday, but they had also provoked a terrifying force. Our Chaos Origin immortal sect does not intend to assassinate your eldest princess. Please forgive us if we implicate you. The sect leader of the Chaos Origin immortal sect said in a deep voice, I wonder how we can let this matter go. When we have killed enough people, we will naturally stop. Ao Jian's cold voice continued to be heard. Outrageous. Do you really think that our Hunyuan immortal sect is afraid of you? The supreme elder of the Hunyuan immortal sect roared with an extremely embarrassed expression. Close the city gates. No disciples are allowed to leave the city for the time being. I want to see how long they can stand here. The middle-aged immortal god ordered with an extremely embarrassed expression. Chapter 745, Panic Assassination, 3/5. Close the city gate, no disciple is allowed to leave the city. When the middle-aged immortal god's voice resounded, all the surrounding disciples of the Chaos Origin immortal sect were stunned and their faces turned black. Close the city gate, an immortal sect was forced to close the city gate and was prohibited from leaving the city. This was simply the humiliation of the immortal sect. The faces of the three immortal gods of the Chaos Origin immortal sect were also very ugly. More than 60 infant realm and more than 60 infant realm experts were blocking the position at the city gate. With the strength of their Chaos Origin immortal sect, they were completely incomparable to them. Even if all the experts of the Chaos Origin immortal sect were to charge out, it would still not be enough for the other party to kill them. Moreover, their city rules forbade the immortal gods from attacking. As long as they attacked, it would violate the Immortal God Treaty. Not to mention the Immortal God Treaty, the immortal gods hidden in the surroundings would also find it difficult to allow them to break through. Even Ling Xiao was hidden in a corner around them. The three of them could not make a move, and the more than 60 infant realm experts outside the city had crushed the entire Chaotic Origin immortal sect. They could only close the city gates. Wait for them to leave. This was a very shameful thing to do, but there was no other way. Our Chaotic Origin immortal sect will remember this matter. In the future, you will definitely pay a terrible price for what you did today. The three immortal gods of the Chaos Origin immortal sect were not willing to stay here any longer. After saying those words filled with killing intent, they snorted coldly and left. Close the city gates. No disciples are allowed to leave. Return to the city. An elder of the Chaos Origin immortal sect shouted in a low voice with an unsightly expression. His cold gaze swept across the crowd in front of the city gates before he turned around and left. Coward, why are you closing the city gates? Come out if you have the guts, Turtle Immortal Sect. Trash, you dare to assassinate our crown prince and his friends. Now, you don't even dare to come out. Outside the city, a group of Yellow Heaven Immortal Sect's dance stage experts saw that they were actually going to close the city gate and mocked loudly. Hearing the voices coming from behind, the top-tier experts from the Chaos Origin Immortal Sect trembled slightly. They gritted their teeth and flew towards the Immortal Sect. Out of sight, out of mind. They did not dare to enter the city gate. As long as they did, the immortal gods would be able to kill them instantly. Aren't you all powerful? Come in if you have the guts. Just barking outside. If you have the guts, come in. You're a bunch of trash. Seeing the immortal god and the top-tier experts of the immortal sect leave, the disciples of the immortal sect felt a little hopeless. This time, their immortal sect's face was going to be lost for sure. Therefore, they simply opened their mouths and started cursing outside. Damn it, they couldn't hold it in any longer. If they couldn't win, then they would curse. In any case, it was already very embarrassing. So what if they were to lose a little more face? You actually still closed the city gates. You bunch of cowards, if you have the guts, you can cower for the rest of your lives. If you have the guts, you can never come out again. If you have the guts, you can always stay outside. Motherfucker, do you want us to send you some tents and food? You bunch of bastards. Motherfucker. You don't even dare to come out of your own home, yet you dare to bark at your own home. Aren't you ashamed? We are all from the same immortal sect, and we are all ashamed of you. The Chaos Origin Immortal Sect, who had given up their dignity, and the Yellow Heaven Immortal Sects group of Dan's stage experts began to curse. For a moment, the entire Chaos Origin city was filled with all sorts of curses. This caused the elders and deacons of the Chaos Origin Immortal Sect to tremble. They don't dare to come in anyway, so let them curse. One of the deacons said in slight silence. Let them curse. At the very least, they could vent their anger. After all, this was Chaos Origin City, and they had the numbers. If they were to curse, they would not lose out. The corners of the elders' and deacons' mouths twitched, and they directly dealt with their own matters with an embarrassed expression. Chaos Origin Immortal Sect has lost a lot of face this time. After today, I believe that the entire Jianghu will become famous. Elder Feng said happily when he saw this scene. Today is just the beginning. Mo Qinglong's face revealed a faint smile, and his eyes flashed with coldness. Elder Feng was slightly silent as he sighed. It was too terrifying to offend such an enemy. He was certain that if it wasn't for the Immortal God Pact, the Chaos Origin Immortal Sect would have already turned into a river of blood. The fact that his sister was injured and sent 2 immortal gods meant that the Dragon King still had immortal gods under him. At the very least, the Dragon King was still around. Elder Feng, I've posted all the actions of the Chaos Origin Immortal Sect on the Jianghu website. I've posted all the posts in the 8 cauldrons. Let's see how the Chaos Origin Immortal Sect will continue to survive in the Jianghu in the future. At this moment, the young man who had started cursing earlier walked to Elder Feng's side and said excitedly. Elder Feng smiled and patted his shoulder. Go back to the Immortal Sect and bring all the information about the elders, deacons, and heaven-chosen disciples of the Chaos Origin Immortal Sect. Yes, Elder. The young man nodded and immediately flew toward the Immortal Sect. Time slowly passed, and 5 to 6 hours passed very quickly. Mo Qinglong and the others were still standing outside the city gate. As infant realm experts, it would not be a problem for them to not eat or drink for 1 to 2 months. A row of experts stood there, and no one in the entire Chaos Origin Immortal Sect was driven out of the city gate. Bang! This is too fucking depressing. Every area on the pugilistic world's internet now has news of our Chaotic Origin Immortal Sect being blocked. We have completely lost face. Now, the disciples of the other immortal sects are also calling us Turtle Immortal Sect. Fuck, I want to go out and kill those people outside and wash away our shame with their blood. Sigh, this time, our Chaos Origin Immortal Sect is completely defeated. The elders and deacons of the Immortal Sect failed to kill Feng Lingtian. Instead, they made us provoke a powerful enemy. I don't know how long those terrifying experts outside will block the Immortal Sect. As time goes by, we will become the laughingstock of the martial world. At night, in a restaurant in Chaos Origin City, 2 elders sat at a table on the top floor. They slammed the table angrily and shouted loudly with red faces. Situations like theirs happened in many places in Hunyuan City. Come, drink more. Drink more today and forget about this unhappy matter. Even immortals can get drunk when they are drunk. Drink more today. The 2 old men drank. The moon slowly rose, gradually silencing the irritable Hunyuan city. One by one, the elders, deacons, and disciples of the chaotic origin immortal sect returned to their homes or the immortal sections. Like many immortal sects, some infant realm experts lived in the city, and some lived in the immortal sections. When night fell and most people fell asleep. In the center of the city, in the luxurious courtyard of an immortal sect's deacons, a faint white light fell on the door of the room, and it quietly opened. An old man was lying on the bed, snoring softly. Puchi. Suddenly, a strange white figure appeared, and blood splattered onto the bedsheets. The white light enveloped the old man, and he slowly disappeared. Chapter 746, In a Panic Assassination, 4/5. Late at night, 4 to 5 hours. For people who slept, 4 to 5 hours was very short, but for an infant realm expert, 4 to 5 hours was enough to do a lot of things. In Mixed Yuan City, soundless and soundless sounds filled the entire city. What was brought was corpses. 500 meters away from the city of primordial chaos, more than 100 people were standing on the road. Bang! At this moment, a corpse suddenly landed on the ground with a loud sound. Hiss! This is the 11th corpse. This is an elder of the primordial immortal sect. The experts of the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect looked at the corpse on the ground and sucked in a breath of cold air. A hint of terror appeared in their eyes. That's right, it was fear. Even if the corpses were their enemies, they still felt fear. Looking at the city in front of them, it was as if it was a ferocious beast that was devouring people. That terrifying formless and shadowless creature quietly attacked and killed 11 infant realm experts of the Hunyuan Immortal sect within a short 2 to 3 hours in the huge city. This was an infant realm expert. If you make an enemy out of such an existence, you might not even know how you died. The members of the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect felt their scalps go numb. Fortunately, we are not enemies. The Dragon Gate is really too terrifying. Elder Feng's eyes flickered as he said to Mo Qinglong. Hee, it will be bright in a while. Give the Chaos Origin Immortal sect a big gift. Mo Qinglong smiled faintly. There were more than 100 of such terrifying creatures in the Dragon Palace. If the Hunyuan Immortal sect sees these corpses, they will probably despair. Elder Feng could already imagine the reactions of everyone in the Hunyuan Immortal sect. He looked forward with some anticipation. The sky gradually brightened. In front of Mo Qinglong and the others, there were a total of 17 corpses. Among them, there were 14 corpses of infant realm experts and 3 corpses of the Hunyuan Immortal sect's outstanding heaven-chosen disciples. Hang them on the mountain peak on the right. Mo Qinglong looked around and waved his arm, bringing one corpse after another to the mountain peak on the left. That was a rather conspicuous place. Even in the Hunyuan city, if one looked carefully, they would be able to see it. He believed that this great gift was enough to cause the entire Chaos Origin Immortal sect to boil. Cowardly disciples of the Turtle Immortal sect, get up. Don't cower in a turtle shell. The sun had just risen, and an angry roar was transmitted into the city. Bastards, this group of damn fellows. Fuck him, percent at percent. Weren't you the ones who were scolded yesterday? If I didn't go out, you wouldn't dare to come in. But I can still scold you. Go, motherfucker, let's properly greet their 18 generations of ancestors today. Furious curses quickly came from the Chaos Origin Immortal sect. The Immortal sect disciples flew directly to the city gate and prepared to curse. I'll give you a big gift. Please look at the mountain on the right. Ha ha ha. The youth's loud laughter was heard. I'll give your grandmother my foot. If you have the guts to enter our city, I guarantee, cough 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 cough. An irascible young man directly spat at that person loudly. However, when he looked at the mountain on the right from the corner of his eyes, he was instantly stunned. His eyes widened and his teeth began to tremble. His face was filled with fear. The dozens of youths in the surroundings also looked over in bewilderment. However, in an instant, it was as if an icy spring had surged into his heart, causing them to feel their breathing quicken. Hoo, impossible, this is impossible. You have entered the city. No, this is impossible. It must be fake, it must be fake. When the dozens of youths saw the corpses on the mountain peak, they nearly collapsed on the spot. One by one, they cried out involuntarily. Ha, you say we don't dare to enter the city? Do you recognize the people above us? When the youth saw their expressions, he revealed an excited expression. The two immortals had been fighting for hundreds of years. Now that the Chaos Origin Immortal sect had suffered heavy losses, it was something that the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect was most willing to see. Seeing their panic and fear, the youth was extremely excited. Not good, something has happened to the elders and deacons. At this time, the dozens of young men completely ignored the young man's mockery. They all shouted into the city in panic, their voices trembling. They were dead. 14 elders and deacons were all killed overnight. In addition to the 14 nascent realm experts, there were also the most outstanding disciples of the Chaos Origin Immortal sect. This filled their hearts with panic. They had actually entered the Hunyuan city last night and had even killed their elders and deacons. What frightened them the most was that no one had noticed and no battle had occurred. What kind of existence was it that could kill so many of their experts in one night? The panicked cries immediately attracted the attention of everyone in the Hunyuan city. All the disciples of Chaos Origin Immortal sect were slightly stunned. Something happened. What happened? What's going on? One by one, experts who had reached the dance stage flew over with faces full of shock. Look over there, quickly look over there. A young man pointed at the mountain peak on the right with a face full of fear. The corpse that was hung on it made their hearts shiver. What? Everyone looked over and instantly felt their scalps go numb. How is this possible? They entered our primordial city. There wasn't any fighting last night. How could it be? How could a group of elders and deacons be assassinated? They are at the infant realm. Who is it? Could it be that the immortal god acted last night to assassinate us? No, the immortal god should be able to sense the immortal god's actions. The disciples of the Chaos Origin Immortal sect opened their eyes wide and shouted in shock. Report to the immortal god immediately. A dance stage expert moved and flew towards the immortal sect with a face full of panic. Something has happened. Something has happened. More and more Chaos Origin City's immortal sect disciples rushed over when they heard the terrified screams. When they saw the corpse on the mountain peak, their bodies went numb. Panic quickly spread toward the city. In just one night, such an immortal sect expert had died, and they didn't even know how the other party had attacked. This made them feel terrified. If the other party had come to assassinate them, then their corpses would have already been hung on the city wall. Whoosh! 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 At this moment, 3 immortal god experts emitting terrifying auras instantly flew over. You're courting death. A fierce roar resounded throughout the entire Chaos Origin city. They were furious. When the 3 immortal gods of the Chaos Origin Immortal sect saw the corpses on the mountain peak, their faces revealed furious expressions. 17 corpses and 14 elders and deacons had once again cut off more than half of the power of the Chaos Origin Immortal sect. Presently, the entire Immortal sect only had 10 plus infant realm experts left. Chapter 747, Panic Assassination, 5/5. You deserve to die. The terrifying power of immortals and gods covered the entire sky, and the wind and clouds changed color. The head elder of the Hunyuan Immortal sect, who was standing in the middle, had his hair standing on end, and he was exuding a terrifying pressure. Below, the faces of the disciples of the Hunyuan immortal sect changed drastically. Under the terrifying pressure, they directly lay on the ground, their eyes filled with shock. What? You want to make a move? At this moment, a golden sword arrived instantly, and Ao Jian's voice appeared above the group of draconids. Ha, don't tell me that our Hunyuan immortal sect's supreme elder wants to challenge the immortal god agreement? A maniacal laughter was heard, and soon after, another figure appeared beside Ao Jian. Ling Xiao. The Hunyuan immortal sect's supreme elder's body trembled slightly, and the anger in his eyes could not be suppressed. Ling Xiao, and you, don't go too far. You killed more than a dozen of our immemorial immortal sect's infant realm experts. This enmity is irreconcilable. The first elder suppressed the urge to make a move and roared in a low voice. Ha, golden ancient Jia, when you sent out all the infant realm experts to assassinate my son, why didn't you think of the consequences now? Regret? It's too late. I'll just continue to kill. What can you do to me? A terrifying aura also surged out from Ling Xiao's body, and a storm raged above his head. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Good, good. Jin Gujia clenched his fists tightly, and his gaze was cold as he stared at Ao Jian. It was the hands of that strange creature of yours, right? Today, our grudge will definitely. We won't rest until one of us dies. Before Jin Gujia could finish his words, Ao Jian looked at the old man and said with a calm expression. The golden ancient Jia's expression changed slightly. He gritted his teeth and said, we will not rest until we die. We only killed 17. Don't worry. We will leave in 3 days. Therefore, on the 3rd day here, I will let you know the consequences of injuring our eldest princess. I will also let you feel fear. Ao Jian stared at the golden ancient Jia and said calmly. 3 days. The golden ancient Jia and the 2 immortal gods beside him had a drastic change in expression as they stared coldly at Ao Jian. Ha, 3 days later, the heaven and earth will still belong to our yellow heaven immortal sect. Do you have any objections? At this moment, Ling Xiao immediately transmitted his voice to Ao Jian and told him about the heaven and earth. The heaven and earth was a very powerful place for cultivation. It was also because of this place that the experts of their Yellow Heaven Immortal sect were able to suppress the other 2 immortal sections. Now, Ling Xiao had promised some benefits and wanted Ao Jian to help him stabilize heaven and earth. Ao Jian nodded slowly. Ling Xiao had given him enough benefits. Moreover, it was better to support his allies than let his enemies develop. Ao Jian stared at the golden ancient Jia. Heaven and earth. The golden ancient Jia's face was almost bleeding. He looked at Ao Jian beside him and clenched his fists. Leave this place immediately. Heaven and earth will still belong to your Yellow Heaven Immortal sect. The Yellow Heaven Immortal sect's condition is their condition. We are us. Ao Jian stared at Jin Gujia and said calmly. Phew. Jin Gujia took a deep breath and slowly closed his eyes. There will be plenty of time in the future. With that, he moved and flew directly toward the immortal sect. Don't sleep for the next 3 days. We will protect you. The sect leader of the Chaos Origin Immortal sect shouted in a deep voice. His eyes were filled with helplessness as he moved and disappeared. Don't sleep for the next 3 days. Everyone in Chaos Origin City was stunned as grief and indignation appeared on their faces. Not only did they not dare to go out when they were blocked at the city gate, even the city was not safe anymore. They could not even sleep. They even needed the protection of the immortals. And their great elder had made a major compromise. Their Chaos Origin Immortal sect was completely defeated. After today, their Chaos Origin Immortal sect would once again become the laughingstock of the Jianghu. There will be some trouble in the next 3 days. They are already on guard. With 3 immortals protecting them, it will be very difficult to carry out an assassination. Ling Xiao frowned slightly and said to Ao Jian. Ao Jian nodded slowly. Unless they had been guarding Hunyuan City, the chances of success in the assassination during these 3 days were very, very small. Moreover, it was not worth the risk. Lord Ao Jian, let's go back directly. Let's let Hunyuan City fall into panic for the next 2 days. Mo Qinglong's eyes flashed as he said to Ao Jian. Alright, let's go. The Dragon King's task has been completed. Ao Jian nodded and said to the void, Brother Ao Yao, let's go. Alright. A voice replied from the void. Let's go. Mo Qinglong said to the crowd as he flew towards the Yellow Heaven Immortal sect. Let's go as well. Elder Feng said to the group of Immortal sect disciples. Yes. The group nodded. We're leaving. You can leave the city now. You can sleep well tonight. Don't worry, really. The Yellow Heaven Immortal sect youth rolled his eyes and shouted towards the direction of the Chaos Origin Immortal sect. Elder Feng smiled when he heard his voice. They had left, but did the people of Chaos Origin City really dare to come out? Did they really dare to sleep at night? No, they definitely didn't dare. Because they didn't know where a terrifying existence had appeared to kill them. They didn't dare to gamble. They've left this place. They've left, we. It must be their scheme. They left on purpose and then came to assassinate us at night. 14 elders and deacons were actually assassinated without a sound. What kind of terrifying assassins are they? Even the assassins of the assassination clan aren't that terrifying. That's right, we can't be careless. Seeing them leave, the people in Mixed Yuan City all had ugly expressions as they conversed. They weren't careless at all. They were still tense. It was too terrifying. The death of so many experts in one night had already caused them to panic. Just as Elder Feng had guessed, they wouldn't relax. Instead, they became even more vigilant. And the strange demons displayed their terrifying assassination techniques for the first time, causing the entire immortal sect to be on tenterhooks. There were still more than 100 strange demons in the Dragon Palace. If all of them came out, they would be able to intimidate more than half of the entire Jianghu. For the next 3 days, the city gates of Hunyuan City were still tightly shut. No one dared to sleep day and night. After 3 days of peace, not a single person died, and there were no attacks. This made all the disciples of the Hunyuan Immortal sect look even more embarrassed. They had been played. Although they knew that they had been played, they could only accept it. This matter was once again exposed on the Jianghu website. The Hunyuan Celestial sect had once again become the laughingstock of the Jianghu Celestial sect. At this moment, Wang Xian walked out of Jiang City. There was a sudden change at Guan Shuqing's side. According to Prime Minister Gui's report, terrifying flames would erupt from Shuqing's body from time to time. The flames could not be controlled and were extremely terrifying. After Wang Xian heard about this, his expression changed drastically. He immediately went to the Celestial sect personally to look for spiritual herbs and elixirs. Chapter 748, Searching for Herbs, 1/5. Occasionally, there will be terrifying flames emitted from her body. The temperature of the flames is extremely terrifying. Each time, the flames will cause her pain. Wang Xian muttered as he looked at a map in his hand. When he learned that Guan Shuqing's flames were coming out from her body, he realized the severity of the problem. It might be related to the vermilion bird's blood essence. The vermilion bird was a peak race that was comparable to the divine dragon. They possessed an extremely terrifying ability, nirvana. After nirvana, the vermilion bird would be even more terrifying after being reborn. Similarly, the vermilion bird's vitality was extremely terrifying. A single drop of their blood could resurrect it. It was comparable to the ancient god feeding Kun Lord. Wang Xian didn't pay too much attention back then. From the looks of it now, there must be something wrong with the vermilion bird's bloodline. Dragon King. At this moment, Prime Minister Gui's voice was heard. A figure flew over at a terrifying speed. On Prime Minister Gui's back was a crystal box that was emitting a chilly aura. The crystal box was about the size of a human. There were beautiful patterns carved on it. It's here. Wang Xian reached out his hand and took the crystal box from him. He opened it slowly. Dragon King, this is the level 13 metal ice soul stone that you have obtained. I have made it into a crystal bed. The cold properties of the ice soul stone can suppress the eruption of flames and reduce the pain on the Dragon Queen's body. Prime Minister Gui said to Wang Xian. Okay. Wang Xian looked at Guan Shuqing, who was lying inside with a blush on her face. He gently touched her face and sighed. He didn't expect that an injury would cause Shuqing to remain unconscious. You can go back now. Wang Xian said to Prime Minister Gui. It's the Dragon King. Prime Minister Gui nodded and flew toward the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian closed the lid and carried Guan Shuqing on his back as he walked forward. Sun Lingxiu and Lan Qingyue didn't follow him out this time. Wang Xian told the two girls to stay in Jiang City and rest well. The immortal gods from the Mingwang Immortal Sect and the Puppet Immortal Sect said that the innate Immortal Sect is good at growing spiritual herbs. They have a lot of spiritual herbs over there. Wang Xian muttered in his heart. His gaze swept across the map again. The territory of China had undergone a huge change. The 8 new cauldron worlds had increased the territory by more than half. The innate immortal sect belonged to the world of Tangding. Tangding was considered a relatively strong region among the 9 cauldrons. The entire region had 2 immortal sects and 1 immortal academy. The immortal academy was a relatively special force compared to the immortal sections. It was also the only immortal academy among all the powerful forces. It existed in the form of an academy. The Ice God Immortal Sect, the Natural-Born Immortal Sect, and the True Martial Immortal Academy were the 3 major forces of Tangding. Tangding's region was the same as the Yongchang world. There was only one huge city called Tang City. Tang City was incomparably huge. It was much bigger than the first-tier cities in China. Jinwu Academy was located at the center of the city. Wang Xian was here to look for medicine. He headed straight towards the direction of the natural-born celestial sect. If he wanted to enter the natural-born celestial sect, he had to pass through Tang City. This city is even bigger than Yongchang City. After entering the area of Tangding, Wang Xian carried a crystal box that was the size of a human on his back. He scanned his surroundings. There was a wide road which was divided into a human-shaped road and a horse-drawn carriage road. Come, come, come. Everyone, line up. When you are browsing the Soup City, remember not to litter and abide by the rules of the Soup City. Remember to remember. At this moment, a voice came from the side. Wang Xian looked over curiously and realized that it was actually a tourist group. There were more than 100 people in the tourist group. A group of tourists looked around curiously. Looks like the 8 cauldrons world will gradually integrate into the real world in the future. Wang Xian swept his gaze across the city. A smile appeared on his face as he walked straight into the city. Walking in the city felt like he was in ancient times. Although Wang Xian was dressed differently, the people around him did not pay too much attention to him. As he passed by the center of the city, Wang Xian saw the entrance of the Jinwu Celestial Academy. It was like a miracle in the world. It was filled with majesty. Wang Xian was not here for a vacation. He walked straight in. Guji guji. Just as Wang Xian passed by the Jinwu Celestial Academy and was in the path of the unique wooden houses on both sides, a creature suddenly flew over from the upstairs window. The creature was about half a meter in size. Its entire body was green in color and emitted a strong wood attribute energy. The strange thing was that the creature had a pair of eyes and its branches were legs. The creature pounced toward Wang Xian and opened its mouth to bite him. Huh! Wang Xian was slightly stunned. He lowered his head to take a look. The crystal box on his back was supported by a branch formed from the green dragon attribute. Meanwhile, the creature was biting toward the branch formed from the green dragon attribute with glowing eyes. Bang! Wang Xian's expression didn't change as he waved his arm toward the creature. Guji guji. The creature's expression changed drastically as a look of horror appeared in his eyes. Bang! His body crashed into the wooden house. Ching ching. A surprised voice came from the house upstairs. A net formed by trees caught the creature's body. A woman appeared in front of the creature in an instant. The woman had fiery red lips, raised her eyebrows, and coiled her hair. She had a unique heroic bearing. She had a strong sense of majesty. She stretched out her hand to catch the creature and sized it up carefully. Guji guji. The creature looked at Wang Xian timidly and turned around to look at the woman pitifully. Young man, you've gone too far. The woman caressed its head and a cold look flashed across her eyes. She looked at Wang Xian gently. Take care of your pet. Wang Xian looked at the woman and said plainly. Ha! The woman laughed when she heard Wang Xian's words. She picked up the creature slowly and raised her head slightly. In an instant, a faint aura engulfed Wang Xian. You have offended my dignity. Come and apologize to Qing Qing. What is this? A hint of surprise flashed across Wang Xian's eyes as he raised his eyebrows. Offended your dignity? Wang Xian, who was already in a bad mood due to Guan Shuqing's incident, had a hint of coldness in his eyes. Don't look for trouble. A hint of dragon aura engulfed the woman directly. Cracks appeared on the ground in an instant as it extended towards the woman. You are also an immortal. The woman's expression changed drastically. She felt the pressure from Wang Xian and a hint of fear flashed across her eyes. An intermediate immortal. At least an intermediate immortal's pressure. It was one level higher than her. Wang Xian glanced at her and ignored her. He walked straight in. My lord, I have offended you. The woman's voice rang out from behind. Her expression turned slightly ugly when she saw Wang Xian ignoring her. No wonder Qing Qing ran towards him. It's because his body is emitting an even denser energy than mine. Which immortal from the celestial sect is coming to my cauldron for? The immortal from the lower level was one level higher than the middle level immortal and had reached the level of an immortal god. Those who were addressed as higher than themselves were addressed as Sir. The woman looked at Wang Xian's figure and revealed a look of astonishment. He was heading in the direction of their immortal sect. Chapter 749. What do you need, 2/5? I can easily meet an immortal god. He should be an immortal god from the true martial immortal house. Wang Xian walked through the main road of the special wooden house and pondered in his heart. The true martial immortal house was very powerful. It was rumored that there were 4 to 5 immortal god powerhouses and 2 intermediate immortals. However, his purpose of coming here was not the true martial immortal house. He did not have the intention to chat with other immortal gods. The problem with Shu Qing had to be solved as soon as possible. Wang Xian's footsteps were very fast, giving off an illusory feeling. After more than an hour, he arrived at the entrance of the natural-born celestial sect. Natural-born celestial sect. 2 gigantic trees stood tall. Each tree was at least 10 meters in diameter and 100 meters in height. Their lush leaves blocked off a huge area. The 2 trees intersected and formed a door-shaped entrance. Inside, rows of unknown trees blocked off a subordinate's path. It looked very spectacular. The 100 Flowers garden is blooming today. We just need to get a drop of the 100 Flowers liquid today. The 100 Flowers Garden, one of the 3 gardens of the natural-born celestial sect, is blooming. The 100 Flowers liquid can calm one's mind and mind. It is extremely beneficial for cultivation. I hope I have something that the natural-born celestial sect needs to exchange for it. Even if I can't get it, I would be satisfied just to take a look at Fairy Fang's beauty. At this moment, Wang Xian suddenly heard a group of people conversing behind him. Focus your mind and calm your heart. 100 Flower liquid. Wang Xian raised his eyebrows. A contemplative look appeared on his face as he looked behind him. A group of more than 30 people, including young and middle-aged men, walked towards them. They were all wearing the same uniform. The words Zhenwu were written on their chests. When the crowd saw Wang Xian standing at the entrance with a coffin-like coffin on his back, they glanced at him curiously. Then, they ignored him and walked straight in. When Wang Xian saw them walking in, he followed behind them. 50 spirit stones for each person entering the 100 Flowers Garden. At the end of the path blocked by trees, 2 young men stood there and spoke to the crowd. It was obvious that this group of people from the True Martial University knew the rules as well. They immediately handed over 50 spirit stones. Wang Xian did not hesitate and took out 50 spirit stones directly. Currently, he did not have many spirit stones in his hands. However, he still had a few 100,000 spirit stones. As he was unfamiliar with the natural-born immortal sect, this 100 Flower Garden was an opportunity for him. With his current strength, although he could fly directly into the natural-born immortal sect to talk to the immortals, he did not know the rules here. He was here to ask for medicine. It would be troublesome if the natural-born immortal sect disliked him. After all, the natural-born immortal sect was not weak. The entire natural-born immortal sect was a sea of plants. Even some buildings in the distance were built on huge trees. It looked like the elves in novels. He followed the students of the True Martial Immortal Academy to the left. Soon, a colorful sea of flowers appeared in his line of sight. It's too beautiful. Every time I come here, I don't want to leave. A girl's voice came from the front. There were all kinds of flowers in front of them. Colorful butterflies were dancing on them. The entire sea of flowers didn't look like the mortal world or the immortal world. When they came to the center of the sea of flowers, there was an empty space. There were many seats placed on it, surrounding the seats in an arc. There were more than 100 seats, and there were already many people sitting there. Wang Xian swept his gaze across and realized that everyone was waiting for something. He found a remote seat and sat down. Hey brother, what are you carrying on your back? Wang Xian was sitting in a seat when a young man suddenly asked curiously. Wang Xian turned his head and looked at the thin and weak young man sitting beside him. He said faintly, "The one I love." You are a weirdo. The skinny young man shook his head speechlessly when he heard his words. Wang Xian ignored him and looked at the cup of tea on the table. Brother, you don't look familiar. You are not a student of the True Martial Immortal College and don't seem to be from the Ice God Celestial sect. Where did you come from? The skinny young man looked at Wang Xian's attire curiously and asked enthusiastically. It's from Jiang City. What kind of tea is this? Wang Xian picked up the teacup and took a sip. Instantly, he felt refreshed. It was as though he had taken a sip of herbal tea in summer and it had entered his heart. Jiang City. This is the 100 Flowers tea. It collects the fragrance of the 100 flowers and covers it. When the tea is boiled, take a sip to calm your mind. The skinny young man explained to Wang Xian and looked at him curiously. Why? You don't know. Wang Xian shook his head. Is the effect of the 100 Flowers liquid much stronger than this tea? Of course. This is just the fragrance of the 100 flowers while the 100 Flowers liquid is the liquid of the 100 flowers. The two are naturally not on the same level. The 100 flowers liquid is equivalent to a top-grade grade 6 elixir. It is extremely precious. I wonder if I can exchange it for a drop this time. The skinny young man's eyes lit up as he spoke. Bingchuan Yun is here. Sigh, there are so many big shots here today. My hope is a little slim. Suddenly, the skinny young man saw the group of people who walked in and said helplessly. Wang Xian swept his gaze across the group. It was a young man who was wearing white clothes. He was handsome and there was a hint of confidence between his brows. The group of young men sat not far from them. There are many people here. Senior Sister Baihua, what do you want to exchange for this time? Hee, it's the harvest season again. At this moment, in the 100 Flowers garden, a few girls were walking over with smiles on their faces. There were more than 10 girls dressed in clothes with a 100 flowers pattern. In the middle of them was an exceptionally stunning girl. On her shoulders, there were 2 7-colored butterflies the size of a palm. The butterflies were not decorations, but living creatures. Beside this girl, a girl with a slightly inferior appearance was on her left. She had a proud expression on her face. The two of them were clearly one step ahead of the girls around them, revealing their identities. Look, Flower Fairy. This is your first time seeing her, right? The beauty ranked 3rd in the world of martial arts is ranked 3rd among the 20 immortal sections. Even if you can't get the 100 flower liquid this time, it's worth it to look at Flower Fairy. The skinny boy next to him smacked his lips and muttered to himself. Chuan Yun. A group of more than 10 girls came to a platform in the center. When the girl next to Flower Fairy saw the handsome young man, surprise appeared in her arrogant eyes, and she immediately walked over. The young man smiled at the girls, and a hint of admiration flashed in his eyes as he looked at Flower Fairy. Thank you all for coming today. This year, there are a total of 10 drops of 100 flower liquid in the 100 flower garden. Just like in previous years, you can barter with your items. If you are satisfied, you can directly exchange them. Flower Fairy stood in the middle and took out 10 jade bottles. The jade bottles were very small, and one could see a drop of colorful liquid inside. Chapter 750, What do you need, 3/5. The 100 flower liquid was placed on a stone table on the table. There was a special flower growing on the stone table. The flower was like a palm, holding it on top. Everyone, the first drop of 100 flower liquid, everyone can take out their own items to trade. Those who are selected will carry out the trade. The 100 flower fairy gently tapped, and a flower on the stone table grew longer and was placed in front of them. She wore a flower dress, had delicate hands, 2 beautiful butterflies, and had a delicate face. She was the 3rd most beautiful person in the world, so she definitely deserved her name. 2 grade 7 radiant wind grass, 1 stalk. 1 grade 6 medicinal pill, Ganoderma orchid pill. Grade 11 wood attribute scepter. 10 clear blue flower seeds. Just as the flower fairy sect finished speaking, a group of middle-aged youths took out their items and shouted loudly. The group of girls beside the 100 flowers immortal sect were looking at the items happily. The 100 flowers liquid was a special item. It was comparable to a top grade 6 elixir. However, it was very special. Even for an infant stage powerhouse, it had some use. Therefore, it was very precious. A grade 10 wood spirit pearl. The skinny young man beside Wang Xian also shouted loudly. When he shouted out the wood spirit pearl, the girls' eyes lit up as they looked over. Flower Fairy also looked over. It was a pity that there was a hint of disappointment in her eyes. The wood spirit pearl was very useful to them, but it was a pity that its level was too low. 2 level 11 wood attributed spirit weapons. Wang Xian swept his gaze across the items around him and took out 2 wood attributed scepters. Currently, Wang Xian had the most spirit weapons. He also had more than 20 wood-attributed spirit weapons, including 5 to 6 grade, 12 wood-attributed spirit weapons. All of these were obtained from killing the disciples of the Holy Medicine sect of the Holy Doctor sect. The crowd was slightly surprised when they saw Wang Xian taking out 2 grade, 11 wood-attributed spirit weapons. Compared to spirit weapons, elixirs were more precious. The 100-flower liquid could at most be compared to 1 grade, 11 spiritual artifact. It was a loss for Wang Xian to take out 2 of them. Alright, the first drop of 100-flower liquid will belong to this young master. The flower fairy looked at Wang Xian and said with a smile. With a wave of her arm, the 100-flower liquid flew directly towards him. Wang Xian also threw the spiritual artifact over and caught the 100-flower liquid. Brother, you really don't show your true colors. You're just a nouveau riche. Exchanging 2 grade, 11 spiritual artifacts for the 100-flower liquid, TSK. The skinny young man at the side looked at Wang Xian and sighed with envy. Wang Xian smiled. He opened the jade bottle and sniffed it. Instantly, a fragrance that made him quiet came from inside. It seemed to have a calming effect on his soul. Wang Xian moved his arm and placed the crystal box behind him on the stone table in front of him. After opening it gently for half a meter, Wang Xian poured the 100 flowers liquid into Guan Shuqing's mouth gently. This. The skinny young man at the side was stunned when he saw Wang Xian opening the crystal box and seeing Guan Shuqing inside. He widened his eyes when he saw Wang Xian pouring the 100 flowers liquid into her mouth directly. He is really someone that I like. The skinny young man muttered with a shocked expression. Pouring the 100 flowers liquid that was exchanged for 2 grade, 11 spirit tools into her mouth directly was extremely extravagant. Wang Xian stared at Guan Shuqing's expression. When he saw her flushed face slowly returning to normal and her breathing becoming more stable, a hint of surprise flashed across his eyes. It works, it really works. He heaved a heavy sigh of relief. As long as it works. I'll take the second bottle of 100 flowers liquid. It's a level 12 wood attribute spirit weapon. This spirit weapon is not an ordinary spirit weapon but a wooden hairpin. Wearing it on the body of the flower fairy is its best destination. At this moment, the second bottle of 100 flower liquid began to be exchanged, and a young man's voice sounded. A level 12 would attribute spirit tool. My God, Glacier Cloud has invested a lot. Exchanging for a level 12 spirit tool is simply a huge loss. Glacier Cloud's intentions aren't in the wine, he's clearly trying to curry favor with Flower Fairy. TSK, I've always heard that Glacier Cloud likes Flower Fairy, but now it seems like he lives up to his reputation. A perfect match. Senior Brother Bing is the most outstanding disciple of our Ice God Immortal sect. He is worthy of Flower Fairy. When the surrounding people saw the item that Bing Chuanyun took out, they automatically put away their own items. They did not want to compete for this drop of 100 flower liquid. When the girl sitting next to Bing Chuanyun saw him looking at her junior sister with admiration, her eyes revealed a look of jealousy and her face was embarrassed. Seeing that he was holding a grade 12 spiritual artifact, Flower Fairy frowned slightly and said, Young Master Bing's grade 12 spiritual artifact is too valuable. I'll give you 2 drops of 100 flower liquid. Bing Chuanyun's expression turned ugly when he saw her giving him 2 drops. He shook his head slowly and said, All right then, we'll do as Fairy says. Wait. At this moment, Wang Xian stood up slowly and said, 1 grade 12 would attribute spiritual artifact and 1 grade 11 would attribute spiritual artifact. What the fuck? Are you serious? This is crazy. Is he going after Flower Fairy as well? It's that young man again. 1 level 12 spiritual weapon and 1 level 11 spiritual weapon in exchange for 2 drops of 100 flower liquid. This was a huge loss. No one would make such a stupid deal. It was no exaggeration to say that these two spiritual weapons could be exchanged for at least 6 to 7 drops. Which immortal sect is he from? If he isn't from the Ice God Immortal sect, he doesn't seem to be from our true martial immortal college. Could it be that some rich second generation from an immortal sect is chasing after fairy flower? Some people stared at Wang Xian in bewilderment. Others did not pay much attention to his purchase of the first drop of 100-flower liquid. However, the price he offered this time was simply too extravagant. It was even more extravagant than Glacier Cloud. Flower Fairy was stunned as well. She looked at Wang Xian with astonishment in her heart. Could it be that he was really pursuing her? Otherwise, why would he spend such a huge price to purchase her 100-flower liquid? Thinking of this, Flower Fairy couldn't help but size up Wang Xian. Based on his looks, he wasn't any worse than Glacier Cloud. He had an ordinary aura about him. He wasn't very attractive, but he was very attractive. Young master, are you sure you want to exchange 2 spirit tools for 2 drops of 100-flower liquid? The Flower Fairy asked Wang Xian curiously. She was just curious, but she didn't have many thoughts. That's right. Wang Xian nodded. The 100-flower liquid was very useful to Shu Qing. He didn't care about 1 or 2 spirit tools. Beside him, Bing Chuanyun frowned as he stared at Wang Xian. He then raised his eyebrows. Since this young master wants to exchange 2 drops of 100 flowers liquid for such a valuable item, I will give it to you. I will also let the Flower Fairy earn a little more. Hee, I want the lower ones. He said with a smile as though he was thinking of the Flower Fairy. It was indeed able to give the Flower Fairy a good impression. The Flower Fairy nodded her head slowly. After all, this was a trade and not a direct gift to her. There was no reason for her to reject him. Here. The Flower Fairy threw 2 drops of 100-flower liquid over. Wang Xian also threw the spiritual weapon over. Then give me the next 2 drops of 100-flower liquid, Flower Fairy. Bing Chuanyun said with a faint smile on his face. All right. The Flower Fairy nodded her head. Wait, I want the remaining 7 drops of flower liquid. What do you need? Chapter 751, Chasing After a Fairy? 4/5. Wait a minute, I want the remaining 7 drops of 100-flower liquid. What do you need? When Wang Xian finished his sentence. When he thought of this sentence, everyone around was stunned. Including the 100-flower fairy. Even Glacier Cloud, who was standing there, froze instantly. 7 drops of 100-flower liquid? What do you need? What did this mean? What do you need? This young man is obviously chasing after the 100-flower fairy. No way, is he really here to chase after the 100-flower fairy? Otherwise, why would the 100-flower fairy say what she needs? Just how rich is he to be able to say something so confident? What do you need? It can't be the descendants of other immortal gods, right? It's really possible. Fuck, you actually came to flirt with our flower fairy. Everyone around was stunned. Following that, they whispered softly and stared at Wang Xian in astonishment. Bing Chuanyun's face turned gloomy. Flower Fairy stared at Wang Xian in astonishment and frowned slowly. Young master, the 100-flower liquid is a barter. If you can take out something more valuable than what we have here or something that we like, we can trade it directly. 3 grade 12 spiritual weapons and 3 grade 11 spiritual weapons. Wang Xian looked at the 100-flower fairy and said directly. Holy shit, so powerful. To casually bring out 4 grade 12 spiritual weapons, how is he so rich? Grade 12 spiritual weapons were not like cabbages. Many experts in the infant realm might not even have grade 12 spiritual weapons. Some immortals only used grade 12 spiritual weapons. Each grade 12 spiritual weapon was enough to cause 2 infant realm experts to fight and even risk their lives. Now that Wang Xian had taken out 4 of them at once, they wouldn't believe it even if they were beaten to death if he wasn't chasing after Flower Fairy. Even Flower Fairy felt that this young man must be chasing after her. Otherwise, why would he take out such a precious item to exchange for 10 drops of 100 flower liquid? For a moment, Flower Fairy fell silent. Among the many suitors, there was not a single one who could take out 4 grade 12 spirit tools at once. Even Glacier Cloud only took out a grade 12 spirit tool this time. She did not immediately agree because she would not accept even the most precious item given to her by someone she did not like. She didn't dare to accept such a precious item from a young man whom she had met for the first time. If you aren't satisfied with these items, tell me what you need. I will try my best to satisfy you. Wang Xian frowned slightly when he saw that Flower Fairy didn't say anything. He told her directly. Fuck, so domineering. Fuck, you are so domineering even when chasing Flower Fairy. You are indeed a nouveau riche. Awesome. Everyone was stunned once again. Trying to satisfy you. How confident was he? Flower Fairy pursed her lips and looked at Wang Xian. He was indeed domineering. None of her suitors dared to speak to her like that. This gave her a strange feeling. Wow, he's so cool. Oh my god, Senior Sister Flower, he's so cool. Nouveau riche, quick, what does Senior Sister need? Tell me. The girls beside Flower Fairy were completely shocked. The way he pursued her was simply too domineering. What do you need? I will try my best to satisfy you. The group of girls said excitedly to Flower Fairy. Flower Fairy pursed her lips, but she still gritted her teeth. Let's exchange items 1 drop at a time. Bing Chuanyun heaved a sigh of relief when he saw Flower Fairy's attitude. Wang Xian was a little impatient when he saw her dilly-dallying. As for the words of the people around him, he heard them clearly. However, pursuing her. Bullshit. Everything was for the pleasure of love. Although this Flower Fairy was pretty, she was only comparable to Guan Shuqing, Lan Qingyue, and the rest. Regardless of the transaction, I want everything. Wang Xian was a little impatient. Tell me what you want, or 3 grade 12 spiritual artifacts and 3 grade 11 spiritual artifacts. I don't think anyone can offer a higher price than me. Fuck. The corners of the mouths of the crowd couldn't help but twitch when they saw how domineering Wang Xian was. Even those infant stage powerhouses were speechless as they watched. One could really do whatever they wanted with money, even if it was to chase after a beauty. At this moment, the skinny young man sitting next to Wang Xian opened his mouth in a daze. His eyes were filled with shock. Perhaps among everyone present, he was the only one who knew that this young man was not chasing after the Flower Fairy. He was doing it for the person he loved. All right. When the Flower Fairy saw how domineering Wang Xian was, she stared at him and gritted her teeth. Level 12 with Spirit Pearl, 1 level 12 with Spirit Pearl. I'll give you all the 100 flower liquid. Seeing Flower Fairy state her conditions, everyone around could not help but sigh. Having money could really increase the chances of chasing after the goddess. Even Bing Chuanyun's expression was extremely ugly. Would Spirit Pearl? Wang Xian frowned. Back when he killed the members of the Holy Medicine Immortal Sect and the Holy Doctor Immortal Sect, he did have a Wood Spirit Pearl. There was even a level 13 Wood Spirit Pearl. However, all those Wood Spirit Pearls allowed Wang Xian to nurture the Dragon Pearl. Currently, he had a level 13 Green Dragon Pearl in its complete form. He really didn't have a Wood Spirit Pearl. I don't have a Wood Spirit Pearl. Wang Xian frowned and shook his head slowly. Upon hearing Wang Xian's words, the surrounding people heaved a sigh of relief. However, Wang Xian moved his arm and a staff that was emitting a bright green light appeared in his hand. The staff was about a meter in size and contained a terrifying amount of wood energy. The only flaw was that there were no spirit pearls embedded in the head of the staff. Even so, the energy contained in the staff shocked everyone around. A level 13 spirit weapon, the weapon of the immortals. The energy of the immortals. Oh my god, it's... In an instant, everyone around stood up and stared at the staff in Wang Xian's hand with a face full of shock. Their bodies trembled slightly. A level 13 spiritual weapon, a wood attribute staff. However, the level 13 spirit pearl on it has been removed. However, this material alone is not inferior to a level 12 wood spirit pearl. Wang Xian said to Fairy Flower calmly. Phew. Fairy Flower took a deep breath. Her eyes were filled with excitement. A grade 13 spirit weapon. Even if the wood spirit pearl on it had been taken away, its value far exceeded that of a grade 12 wood spirit pearl. In fact, the two could not even be compared. This made Fairy Flower's breathing quicken slightly. Even though her master was an immortal, it was not easy for him to take out such a precious item. It was not just the Flower Fairy. All the disciples of the natural-born celestial sect had burning eyes. She raised her head and looked at Wang Xian. Her eyes were sparkling. Are you sure you want to exchange such a precious item for 7 drops of 100 flower liquid? Yes. Wang Xian nodded his head. Although this staff was precious, it was of no use to him. Furthermore, after losing the wood spirit pearl, this staff was only a pseudo-grade 13 spirit weapon that was inscribed with a formation. In the future, when he mastered the inscription formation of the spirit weapon, this staff would be easily refined. Compared to Shu Qing, it was not even worth a single hair on her head. Chapter 752. The power of a deity cannot be offended, 5/5. If that's the case, this young master, these 7 drops of 100 flower liquid belong to you. Flower Fairy took a deep breath and waved her arm. She took the 7 drops of 100 flower liquid in her hand and walked towards Wang Xian. This time, she didn't throw it over directly. Instead, she walked over directly. Taking out such a precious item was equivalent to giving it to her indirectly. She had to thank her somehow. The surrounding people were slightly stunned when they saw Flower Fairy walking over. However, they soon felt relieved. It was normal for Flower Fairy to deliver such a precious item to her personally. Bing Chuanyun held his arm tightly and stared at Wang Xian with fury in his eyes. Thank you, young master. Flower Fairy passed the 100 flowers liquid to Wang Xian and thanked him. No need. Wang Xian smiled as he looked at the 100 flowers liquid in her hand. He passed the staff to her. Do you have any more 100 flowers liquid? Or an item that has similar effects to the 100 flowers liquid? Wang Xian took it and asked the Flower Fairy. The Flower Fairy looked at Wang Xian and nodded slowly. To be honest, young master, we still have some 100 flowers liquid. I have a huge advantage in exchanging 7 drops of 100 flowers liquid for this staff. I'll give the rest of the 100 flowers liquid to you. Okay, thank you. Wang Xian nodded his head at her. Oh my god, Ice Soul Stone. It's an Ice Soul Stone. What a huge Ice Soul Stone. Oh my god. At this moment, a shocked voice came from the side. A young man dressed in white came to Wang Xian's side quickly. His gaze was fixed on the crystal box that Wang Xian placed on the stone table. His eyes were filled with disbelief and madness. Ice Soul Stone. Everyone was stunned, especially the disciples of the Ice God Celestial sect. They immediately looked towards the direction where the young man was looking at. It's really an Ice Soul Stone, cough cough, Ice Soul Stone, what a big piece. It's the holy weapon for ice attribute cultivators. It's the best material to create an ice attribute spiritual weapon. Oh my god, oh my god. In an instant, the disciples of the ice god celestial sect gasped and they saw the huge piece of ice soul stone in front of Wang Xian. Ice soul stone was a grade 13 metal. This kind of metal emitted cold air. If they were to sit cross-legged and cultivate on it, it would be the best holy weapon for the disciples of the ice god celestial sect who cultivated the ice attribute. In fact, the ice soul stone could also be used to create immortal god weapons. To ice element cultivators, this was simply a supreme treasure. And this ice soul stone in front of them could create many spirit weapons and could also allow several disciples to cultivate. It was no wonder that the ice god immortal sect disciples were so crazy. Ice soul stone. Bingchuan Yun's breathing was somewhat hurried as he stared at it with excited eyes. He didn't expect this young man to have such a big ice soul stone. If he had some ice soul stones, he could even break through to the level of a half-step immortal god. Wang Xian frowned slightly when he saw the ice god celestial sect's disciples staring at the crystal box with Shu Qing's body. Phew, ice soul stone. Brother, can you sell some of it? The young man who was the first to rush over stared at Wang Xian passionately. He couldn't help but approach Wang Xian and extend his arm. I'm not selling it. Take your hand back. Wang Xian looked at the young man coldly. However, the young man didn't seem to hear him. He continued to touch the ice soul stone. Boom. Just as his arm was about to touch the stone, Wang Xian waved his arm. A terrifying energy landed directly on the young man's body. Bang! The young man didn't have the slightest ability to resist. His body flew into the distance. Ah! At this moment, the young man finally woke up. He couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of fresh blood. His face was in extreme pain as he let out a terrified scream. Wang Xian didn't use much strength in this attack, but it was enough to turn the young man into a cripple. What? How dare you make a move? The surrounding disciples of the ice god celestial sect came back to their senses. When they saw their fellow disciples who were seriously injured, their expressions changed drastically. A middle-aged man immediately walked to the side of the young man and shouted at Wang Xian with an embarrassed expression. You don't know what's good for you. Wang Xian swept a cold glance at the young man. The expressions of the disciples of the ice god celestial sect were slightly embarrassed. Just now, Wang Xian had warned their fellow disciples that the young man didn't hear that he was severely injured. It was the young man's fault first. However, brother, my junior brother only touched the ice soul stone with his hand. Isn't it too much for you to hit him so hard? Bingchuan Yun's eyes sparkled when he saw that the disciple of the celestial sect was seriously injured. He stared at Wang Xian coldly. He is already lucky that he didn't kill him. Wang Xian glanced at them coldly. You are really arrogant. Don't be so arrogant just because you have some spiritual artifacts. Kid, I'm warning you. This is the area of our soup cauldron. Bingchuan Yun stared at Wang Xian coldly. That's right. Our junior brother only touched you once, but he already hit you so hard. This is too much. You must give us an explanation today. A middle-aged man from the ice god celestial sect stood beside Bingchuan Yun and said with a twinkle in his eyes. It was the disciples of the ice god celestial sect who crossed the boundary first. Fairy Centauria was stunned when she saw this scene. She took a glance at Wang Xian beside her and immediately said to Bingchuan Yun. Junior sister Centauria, the disciples of the ice god celestial sect only wanted to touch him. It's not like they wanted to take him away. He attacked with such force. This is too much. Furthermore, who gave him the right to attack in our 100 Flowers celestial sect? He doesn't put our natural-born celestial sect in his eyes. As soon as she finished her sentence, the female disciple of the innate immortal sect beside Bingchuanyun pointed at Wang Xian and spoke on Bingchuanyun's behalf. Seeing her senior sister's criticism, the flower fairy's expression turned slightly awkward. Wang Xian's attack was too harsh. It was indeed difficult for her to protect him, especially since he was a member of the Ice God Immortal sect. She furrowed her brows tightly and said, "Let me treat this junior brother's injuries with medication. This is not a matter of treatment. Kid, let me tell you. Give me some ice soul stones to compensate for my junior brother's injuries. Otherwise, I don't care who you are or which immortal sect you are from, you will have to pay a heavy price in the area of our Tangding." Bingchuanyun took a glance at the ice soul stone and stared at Wang Xian coldly. Hee hee. Wang Xian looked at them with a hint of coldness in his eyes. He opened the ice soul stone gently. He opened the bottle of 100 flowers liquid directly and let out the fragrance. Then, he placed it around Shu Qing. "Shu Qing, some people are disturbing you. Let me deal with them." Wang Xian mumbled and covered it again. Then, he slowly carried it on his back. However, everyone who was standing around looked at the opened ice soul stone in shock. Inside, there was actually a beauty. Although it was just a glance, her face was definitely not inferior to flower fairies. The level 13 spirit tool, Ice Soul Stone, the Ice Soul Stone that caused the disciples of the Ice God Immortal sect to go crazy, actually contained a beautiful girl. And he spent such a terrifying price to trade 10 drops of 100 flower liquid with Flower Fairy, not to pursue Flower Fairy, but for that girl. Moreover, that 100 flower liquid was actually used to directly put in the Ice Soul Stone. Such behavior was simply shocking. Chapter 753, The Power of Immortals and Deities Cannot Be Violated 2, 1/5. Everyone looked at Wang Xian in a daze, looking at the Ice Soul Stone beside him. At this moment, Flower Fairy's feelings were the most complicated. Her eyes were flickering as she looked at the Ice Soul Stone that was slowly closing. She looked at the girl who had disappeared from her sight. The girl who was lying inside the Ice Soul Stone. She could not help but feel a sense of jealousy in her heart. She originally thought that this unknown young man was here to pursue her, to gain her favor. He wanted to woo her by taking out some valuable items. But now, it seemed that everything the young man did was not to please her, nor was it to gain her favor. It was for that girl. As long as it was something you could use, no matter how great the price, I would get it for you. Even she was moved by such a man. What a pity! What a pity! A hint of sadness appeared in Flower Fairy's eyes. For the first time, she was actually envious of a girl. She missed him, Flower Fairy. He was the beauty who ranked 3rd among the top beauties in the Jianghu. Arrogant, you want to deal with us? When Bingchuanyun heard Wang Xian's words, a hint of coldness appeared in his eyes. He waved his arm and pointed an ice sword at Wang Xian. I would like to see how you will deal with us. If you don't give us an explanation for my junior brother's injuries today, then, we will have to deal with you properly. Clang! 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 In an instant, more than 10 disciples of the Ice God Celestial sect pulled out their spiritual swords. They swept a glance at the Ice Soul Stone and a hint of passion flashed in their eyes. They stared at Wang Xian and a hint of mockery flashed in their eyes. This was the territory of their Tangding and the Ice God Celestial sect. They were not afraid of anyone here, even if this young man came from a powerful celestial sect. So what? The Ice God Celestial sect was no weaker than the others. Everyone, this is our innate celestial sect, not your Ice God Celestial sect. Fairy Flower looked at Wang Xian and sighed. She looked at Bingchuanyun and said with a cold expression. Guests are guests. At the very least, they are our guests. Flower Fairy took a glance at her senior sister beside Bingchuanyun and added. That senior sister frowned slightly and didn't say anything. That's right. This young master is our guest. This is our natural-born celestial sect. That's right. Don't look down on our natural-born celestial sect. A few girls behind Flower Fairy said. The girls were all emotional. Seeing a young man sacrifice so much for a girl who was in a deep sleep, they were also very touched. When Glacier Cloud saw Flower Fairy and a few natural-born immortal sect girls speak up for him, his expression was slightly embarrassed. Since this is your 100-flower immortal sect, we cannot make a move, but we have to take him away. That's fine. After all, our natural-born immortal sect and the Ice God immortal sect have a very good relationship. Chuan Yun, you guys can't do anything here. However, it's not our responsibility to take him out. The girl beside Chuan Yun immediately chimed in. Flower Fairy's expression slowly turned a little awkward. She pursed her lips and did not say anything. When the surrounding disciples of the true martial immortal sect saw this scene, they knew that this young man was doomed. Bring him out. Bing Chuan Yun stared at Wang Xian and the corner of his mouth curled up slightly. Leave him to us. The middle-aged man and a young man beside him walked over directly. They held weapons in their hands and stared at Wang Xian coldly. Be good. It's best if you give up resisting. Otherwise, hee. How can there be so many people who are courting death? Wang Xian looked at the two people who were walking towards him and swung his arm towards them. The movement of his hand wasn't fast. It was as though he was swatting a mosquito. There wasn't any energy in it and everyone could see the trajectory of his attack. The middle-aged man and the young man had a look of disdain in their eyes. They raised their arms and were about to press down on Wang Xian's hands. However, at this moment, a green energy was suddenly released and attacked the two of them at their chests. Huh! The two of them were stunned and immediately raised the spirit swords in their hands. Not good. The two of them changed their expressions. Their bodies were struck by the powerful force and were sent to the flower bushes behind them. We were too careless. He actually dared to resist. He's courting death. The two of them changed their expressions slightly. Their bodies shook and they were prepared to attack Wang Xian. Whoosh! 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 However, at this moment, the beautiful flowers below started to move. The beautiful flowers were like demons that devoured people. The thousands of flowers grew to a length of about 100 meters. Before the two of them could react, they were surrounded. Ah! Two miserable screams were heard. Then, there was nothing else. The thousands of beautiful flowers returned to normal. Following that, the middle-aged man and the young man disappeared. There was no blood. There was only a kind of demonic beauty. Wang Xian didn't want to be too bloody, so he turned the two of them into soil. What? Damn it! How dare you kill a disciple of our Ice God Celestial sect? Kill him! At the sight of this scene, the disciples of the Ice God Celestial sect of Bingchuan Yun were enraged. A bone-chilling chill spread from the surroundings. The three disciples of the Ice God Celestial sect waved their arms. One of the middle-aged men had a terrifying aura that made people tremble. Terrifying ice swords attacked Wang Xian one after another. Wang Xian stood there indifferently. He opened his mouth slightly and the green dragon bead instantly attacked the three disciples of the Ice God Celestial sect. Bang, bang, bang. The ice swords in front of him directly collapsed and dissipated. The three of them were knocked down in the sea of flowers. At this moment, the sea of flowers once again turned into a terrifying sea of flower demons. The three Ice God Immortal Sect disciples were instantly drowned. Senior Brother Binghai. How is this possible? The Ice God Immortal Sect and everyone else were stunned. If the middle-aged youth who had just attacked had been killed due to carelessness, they could still accept it. However, of the 3 ice god immortal sect disciples that attacked next, the middle-aged man had the strength of the infant stage. Among the disciples of the ice god celestial sect, his potential and prestige were second only to Bingchuan-yun. Yet, he was still killed in an instant. This shocked everyone. His strength. Bingchuan-yun's pupils could not help but shrink as he stared at Wang Xian with a serious expression. He should be a half-step immortal god. To be able to take out so many precious items, he must be extraordinary. He must be a half-step immortal god. That green bead, if I'm not wrong, should be a level 13 spiritual artifact, the artifact of the immortal. The expressions of everyone around changed slightly, especially the group of girls from the innate immortal sect. Wang Xian was using the wood attribute. He controlled the sea of flowers beside him to turn into a terrifying flower monster. They could sense a terrifying energy. Wang Xian's expression did not change. He took a step forward slowly. The green dragon bead slowly emitted a wave of pressure. The green light instantly covered the group of ice god sect's disciples who were attacking. Among them was the girl from the innate immortal sect. You. What are you doing? Let me tell you. This is our innate immortal sect. If you make a move here, our immortal god will not let you off. When the girl saw the green light covering her, her expression changed drastically. Her eyes were filled with fear. Young master, please stop. Don't hurt senior sister. Flower Fairy also changed her expression slightly and said hurriedly. With the strength of a half-step immortal god and the artifact of an immortal god, it was a piece of cake to kill them all. You dare to make a move, huh? If you dare to make a move, our immortal god will kill you. Bingchuan-yun's expression changed drastically as he shouted loudly. Why wouldn't I dare to? Wang Xian said coldly. The green light shone brightly, causing everyone's expression to change drastically. Guji guji. At this moment, a strange sound was heard. Upon hearing this sound, the girl beside Bingchuan-yun looked as though she had seen her savior. Her face was filled with excitement and malevolence. Guji is here. Ha, our deity is here. You are done for. You are done for. Chapter 754, The Power of the Immortal God Must Not Be Violated 3/2/5. Guji guji. A cry was heard. The excited and shrill voice of the senior sister from the natural-born immortal sect was heard at the same time. Everyone was slightly stunned and looked towards the entrance. A half-meter-tall wooden tree demon was running towards them with excited eyes. It's Guji, the Flower Queen's pet. The Flower Queen is here. Everyone exclaimed when they saw the tree demon suddenly appear. This magical tree demon was the Flower Queen's pet and had been following behind the Flower Queen. If Guji appeared, the Flower Queen must be behind it too. The Flower Queen was an immortal-level powerhouse and the only female immortal in the entire world of the soup tripod. She was as strong as a woman and was full of dignity. Now that a young man wanted to kill a disciple of their natural-born immortal sect, the immortal could definitely kill him directly. After all, this was the natural-born immortal sect. If someone wanted to cause trouble, the immortal could directly take action. You're done for, you damn thing. You actually dared to kill a disciple of our ice god immortal sect. You're done for. Bingchuan-yun also stared at Wang Xian with a ferocious expression and shouted loudly. Guji guji. At this moment, his eyes lit up as he sensed the energy that excited him. His round eyes scanned his surroundings. However, when he saw Wang Xian, he let out an anxious cry. His face was filled with fear. He quickly bypassed Wang Xian and ran to the side of Flower Fairy. He reached out his hand and pulled her back. Flower Fairy looked at Guji with a look of astonishment. Pa pa pa. At this moment, the sound of footsteps could be heard. A valiant woman walked over with an aura of motherhood. Her eyes were sparkling as she stared at the green dragon bead in the sky. Lady Queen. Sect leader of the Queen. The ice god celestial sect and the girls shouted excitedly when they saw the woman walking over. The woman turned her head and swept her gaze across them. Her gaze landed on Wang Xian as her eyes sparkled. On the greenwood path, she rushed over when she saw Wang Xian walking towards the innate celestial sect. She didn't expect that this powerhouse, who was one level higher than her, would actually enter their celestial sect. Master. Flower Fairy picked up Guji and rushed to Flower Queen's side. What's going on? The Queen of Flowers asked with a twinkle in her eyes. Sect leader of the Queen of Flowers, it's him. He actually killed 5 disciples of the Ice God Celestial Sect in our Celestial Sect. Now, he wants to kill us. Sect leader of the Queen of Flowers, please make a decision for our sect and kill him. Lady Queen of Flowers, please make a decision for our disciples of the Ice God Celestial Sect. Kill him or hand him over to our Celestial Sect. The girl and Bingchuan Yun hurriedly shouted. After they were done, they stared at Wang Xian with cold eyes. Their eyes were filled with excitement. What was there to be afraid of, the Celestial Sect? Master, it's like this. Fairy Flower told the Lady Queen of Flowers what had happened. But it's like what she said. When the Lady Queen of Flowers heard Fairy Flower's words, she asked the girl who was shrouded in green light with an expressionless face. The girl was slightly stunned, then she immediately explained, Sect Master Flower Empress, a junior brother of the Ice God Immortal Sect only wanted to touch him, but he was instantly heavily injured by him. He attacked our Immortal Sect without any scruples. It's simply contempt for our Immortal Sect. Sect Master, he still wants to kill me now. Sect Master, please punish him. He killed 5 of our senior and junior brothers. Please punish him, Lady Flower Queen. The girl and the group of Ice God Celestial Sect's disciples said loudly. The power of the immortals cannot be offended. Flower Queen said slowly. Did you hear that, kid? To dare to make a move in the innate celestial sect is the greatest disrespect to the immortals. Go to hell. Sir, you can do whatever you want with them. Bingchuan Yun stared at Wang Xian with excitement and growled in a low voice. However, before he could finish his sentence, he heard the Flower Queen's faint words. In an instant, his expression froze. Everyone was stunned. The disciples of the Ice God Immortal Sect who were surrounded by the green light, the disciples of the True Martial Immortal Academy, the Natural-Born Immortal Sect's disciples, and the Flower Fairy all looked at the Flower Queen in shock. This lord? The Flower Queen actually addressed this lord to that young man. Normally, the lord would only address an immortal-level powerhouse. And the Flower Queen herself was an immortal-level powerhouse, yet she was addressing that young man as lord. That meant his strength was even stronger than the Flower Queen. That young man was an immortal-level powerhouse. Everyone's expression changed drastically as they looked at Wang Xian in shock. Their eyes were filled with disbelief and respect. However, the glacier cloud that was enveloped by the green light, as well as the female student and the rest were completely stunned. Their bodies trembled slightly and their eyes were filled with disbelief. The might of an immortal god must not be offended. Wang Xian looked at the woman and revealed a faint smile. The might of an immortal god must not be offended. On that path, if he was not an immortal god, Wang Xian was sure that this woman would definitely teach him a lesson. This was the dignity of an immortal god. It was not something that others could offend. Even if it was a disciple of his immortal sect who provoked an immortal god, he would be courting death. No immortal sect would do such a thing to protect a disciple who deliberately provoked an immortal god. Buzz. Wang Xian waved his arm and the green dragon bead in the sky turned into rays of light. No, no. We were wrong. We didn't know that you are the immortal. The disciples of the Glacier Cloud sect saw Wang Xian waving his hand and showed despair on their faces. They quickly knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. Sect leader, save me. The girl shouted with a miserable face. Flower Queen looked on expressionlessly. She was not an indecisive person since she had stepped into the immortal realm as a girl. A bunch of shrimps had provoked an immortal god. The price had to be borne by herself. Bang, bang, bang. The sound of shattering could be heard. No, my cultivation, my Dantian. Bingchuan Yun shouted with a face full of despair. He was an outstanding disciple of the Ice God Immortal sect, a proud heaven's favorite. Now, he was actually crippled. You guys, send them back. The Flower Queen's face was expressionless when she saw this scene. She slowly said to the remaining disciples of the Ice God Immortal sect who were standing there in a daze. Yes, yes. They hurriedly responded and walked towards the disciples of the Immortal sect. Seeing them become crippled one by one, they rejoiced in their hearts. Fortunately, they weren't blinded by greed just now. However, who would have thought that the young man was actually an immortal god, and an immortal god that was even stronger than the Flower Queen? They deserved to die this time. They provoked an immortal god and even wanted to take him away. They are simply courting death. The crowd of Zhenwu Celestial Academy's disciples looked at Wang Xian with a complicated expression. Their eyes were filled with respect as they glanced at Wang Xian. This was the prestige of an immortal god. Even in the natural-born celestial sect and Tang Ding, if you deliberately provoked an immortal god, the immortal god would still be able to cripple and kill you without paying any price. The power of the immortal, not to be offended. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.